Well, should we talk about Impact then?
How do you go through your life? Let's do it.
They showed Bully Ray spray painting tables outside the building. Eric Young met with MVP. He wanted to defend his title tonight. So MVP came up with a plan.
He said he dreamed his whole life of the TNA title.
Impressive.
I didn't know he was only
10 years old?
12.
Yeah. All right, I will tell you what the resolution of the storyline was. Then we'll tell you how they got there. Or try to. So they did a 3-man tournament for a title shot. Because there were 3 men, they drew cards to see who would get a bye. And Bobby Roode won. So it was Anderson versus Gunner. The winner of that against Roode. And the winner of that against Eric for the championship. And this sounds like a good 3-month storyline.
Wrong.
No, this is a 2-hour deal.
In case everyone is confused by what you just said, I will put it into plain English. MVP booked Impact via random card game.
That is also true.
How ironic. I figured this is how they book all their shows.
Yeah, they made it sound far more complicated than either of us did.
I like this show, by the way.
This was, by Impact standards, a decent show.
This is by Impact standards a great show.
Yeah. Magnus came out for a promo. I was trying to figure out why. Because I was thinking in my head, he was out of the title picture. Then he started talking about how he was out of the title picture. He cannot believe this. Now, I realize he is a heel. But it's a very simple answer. You lost the championship. Then you lost your rematch. Both clean. So now you move to the back of the line.
That about covers it.
I realize he is the heel, so we're supposed to, he's supposed to be a whiner. So Abyss showed up. They brawled for a while. Crowd chanted for Janice. Abyss went under the ring and grabbed Janice. Then he held it over his head, and the segment ended. I have no idea what happened to Magnus or where he went.
He went backstage to meet with his buddy.
We'll have to get to that later. Bully Ray came out and hit a table that literally had Dixie's name on it. He claimed he had busted ribs. Said he was still standing. And if he saw Dixie tonight, she was going through the table.
Only in TNA does a babyface promise something, and then it doesn't get delivered.
Yeah.
He promised. He literally promised that he would put her through the table.
Yeah.
And he didn't.
Dixie arrived. She refused to give an interview, and then she talked to Spud. I'm honestly not sure which of these human beings was more ridiculously dressed. All I know is there was a lot of neon green here.
You know, this storyline with Dixie and Bully. You know, there were people on the board that said, well, obviously, when they're in New York at the Hammerstein, Bully is going to put Dixie through a table.
All right.
Well, you going to do this off camera? You can't do man-on-woman violence on Impact. That makes it very difficult to do an angle where Bully Ray puts Dixie Carter through a table. So I'm wondering if they thought about this before they started this angle, and they're going to be gobsmacked when told, hey, you can't do this, or hey, we're not going to put this on television. Or maybe they will do it off camera, and you'll just see Dixie lying in rubble.
Just hear a crunch.
Sure. That's where I think they're going when Bully said at the end of the show that he was going to go to Nashville. They're going to phantom put her through a table, which is not much of a payoff.
So, Mr. Anderson versus Gunner. Gunner was running wild.
Because he's fine. Bully has bruised ribs. Gunner, who's nearly killed the pay-per-view, is fine.
Yeah. James Storm, who apparently at this point was still feuding with Gunner for Christ knows what reason, ran out to distract him, tried to kick him, hit Anderson instead, and then Gunner hit an F5 for the win. And then a miracle happened. TNA showed a replay of a finish.
They should have. This was the greatest F5 I've ever seen. It looked like an F5 into a brain buster. Looked like he killed the poor guy. I really like Gunner. Somebody emailed me today. I guess there was a poll on the front page. Let me see if I can find it. It was like, who is the best world champion? And who should be TNA world champion? And Dave listed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 options. Not one of which was Gunner.
Wow. I don't know if I can name 10 people on the roster who are not Gunner.
I think Gunner should be the champion. They should have put the belt on Gunner after they did that awesome video package when he was getting set for his big match with, I think, Magnus. That was a goddamn awesome video package. You wanted the guy to win and achieve and become the champion.
Yeah.
They should have put it on him then. But the options here, Bully Ray, James Storm, Eric Young, Bobby Roode, Magnus, MVP, Austin Aries, who's even on TV right now, Kurt Angle, Willow, Samoa Joe, Ken Anderson, and EC3. Nobody voted, or no one was even given the option to vote for Gunner.
Maybe we should run a poll tomorrow that says who should be TNA champion. The options should be Gunner or The Field.
Joe is in the lead right now in this poll, believe it or not. Also not on television.
Yeah.
Anyway, go on.
Magnus was packing his bag to leave backstage when a man showed up, and I thought to myself, how did Gunner get backstage so quickly? It was not Gunner. It was a different man with long brown hair and a beard. And this man was called Bram.
Was it Bram? That was Brad.
Bram. He claimed to be Magnus's mate.
His mate.
It's actually not as horrible as I was expecting. So they went to commercial and they came back, and Bram said he was there. He had come all the way across the pond. Actually, I like Bram's promo. He said he'd come to knock some sense into Magnus. Said he was acting like an embarrassment to him, to all his friends, and to the entire United Kingdom.
You know what's so funny about this is Magnus is standing there in a suit because he has been the heavyweight champion of the earth and theoretically is making tons and tons of money and is a big star. And this Bram shows up and says, what about those days when we were drinking and partying, we had no suits, and we slept on couches? Let's go back to that.
He said they were broke, but it was all fighting and women.
I was like, dude, you guys are in your 30s now. Get a fucking job, Bram.
So,
deadbeat.
So, Bram made this challenge, I guess, to Magnus, and before Magnus could give an answer, it was to the ring.
Yeah.
They cut to the ring. EC3's out there already. He said he was wrestling Kurt Angle next week. Started to talk about his own exceptional amateur wrestling career. Crowd was asking where his boyfriend was. He even said, now that you mention it, I have an amateur exhibition, and here is my sparring partner. Out came Spud in a singlet, headgear, and his bow tie. They warned us all this wasn't an exhibition, but people could get hurt. Do not try this at home. So they rolled around a bit. This crowd, by the way, was hot all night long. Started chanting for Spud. Ethan chanted for Spud. He did some lewd jokes about the referee's position. And then as they were both on the mat, Kurt's music began to play, and they both looked scared into the camera. That was awesome.
In the position.
Yeah. And Angle cut a promo, just running both of them down, especially Ethan. He threatened, in 7 days, I'm going to break your ankle. This was all goofy fun.
Sammy here is asking us, since we're on a first-name basis now that he's won these contests, why can't Impact have man-on-woman violence? Isn't it TV-14? Yes, it is, but it is a Spike directive. No man-on-woman violence. That's why all those old mixed tags, they found 9 million ways to not have the men hit the women.
They replayed the entire Knux vignette from the pay-per-view.
I hear...
the whole damn thing.
Crazy Steve is coming.
And Freak.
Is that what it is? Freak?
Crazy Steve and Freak.
Freak.
And Rebel repeated, Crazy Steve is crazy and Freak is a freak.
Bram is Kenneth Cameron, formerly of the Ascension.
Oh, really?
How about that?
That's kind of funny.
Can we... I know it's like the in thing in 2014. Maybe I'm sounding like the old guy here. But can we lay off on the beards a little bit? Does everybody have to have a beard? This is like the 70s with everyone having a mustache.
Yeah.
You guys are all going to look back on yourselves in about 20 years and go, Christ, how didn't I shave my face? It's out of control.
So they aired this whole vignette. It was even worse the second time. I didn't think that was possible. And they promised this crew was going to debut next week, and their name would be the Menagerie. Isn't that a group of animals?
Well, a menagerie can be I don't know. I'm just talking on my ass. I'll Google it.
All right. Very rarely do I get you to admit that. That may be a first.
I do it most of the time, but... All right, menagerie. Oh, no, you're wrong. So I was right.
Really?
Yeah.
Impossible.
It can be a collection of wild animals.
See?
Kept in captivity for exhibition.
I win.
Or, also, a strange or diverse collection of people or things.
Oh, please. No one ever uses it that way.
What are you talking about?
TNA has hacked Google.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Wow, look at this. If you go and check out words here on Google, there is not only a you can hear how to say it. I should use this more often, actually. Here's how you say menagerie.
Menagerie.
Excuse me?
Menagerie. Menagerie.
Menagerie? 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 Menagerie?
Menagerie.
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 Menagerie. But it'll tell you the origin. Menage. It comes from French. Menage. And you can also see the usage over time. Right now, the use of menagerie is down from 2010.
I'll say.
Did you know that?
I would have guessed.
And it's down considerably from 1860. But you didn't know that, did you?
I would have guessed that
Tell
as
me
well.
another funny word. What's that word that...
Caricature.
No. Oh, fuck you. How dare you? I'll do it. And then I'm going to do the word that Sammy used.
Oh.
All right. Here we go.
Caricature.
This guy's just got an accent.
What?
This guy's got an accent. Now it won't play again. See? It's cursed.
I see.
All right, what's that word that Sammy used?
Are you ready?
No, I want to know how to spell it. I don't want to know what it is.
Flocc.
Oh, wait, here. Oh, never mind. I found it on his Twitter.
All right.
You go on with the thing, and I'm going to find out how to say it. Should be good. Go on.
Bobby Roode versus Gunner. It was a good TV match.
They have there's no option to hear it. Damn it. Absolutely zero usage before about 1923.
I would imagine zero usage since then.
No, actually, it's spiked in 2010. The word is used more now than at any other time in history.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. All right, you go on. I'm determined to find out how to spell it.
So Roode beat Gunner clean with the Roode bomb. It was fine. It was a fine middle of Impact match. And this is the point where I realized this entire tournament and the title match itself were all taking place on one show.
Mm-hmm.
Floxanosinylapilification.
Wow. Did you get that, Vinny?
I believe I did.
Floxanosinylapilification.
Man, I could learn how to say all sorts of words with this little device.
Hopefully you're as soulless and creepy as these voices are.
My soul?
You're as soulless and creepy as these voices are.
Caricature. Caricature.
Really? Nobody says it my way? All right, go on.
Put couture in there while you're doing this.
But what?
Couture.
What, like Randy?
Actually, yes.
Couture.
Couture?
There you go.
Couture?
Couture.
Couture?
Couture. Couture.
Couture? Yeah, you go call him, hey, you old couture. See what he says about that. Let's go on.
Beautiful People had a letter from the TNA Board of Directors. Said their wardrobe was crass and too revealing. They agreed to do their celebration anyway. This ended up being a moot point, but they've mentioned the TNA Board of Directors before. Are they MVP's boss? Do they work for MVP? Do they all work for Dixie? How does this work?
Dixie is the owner, so I don't know actually how the board ended. I don't know how this company is set up, Vinny.
It ended up being a moot point, but
Brandon here suggests maybe they'll disguise Dixie in that ridiculous getup again and convince Spike TV that she's actually a man.
I've heard worse ideas.
Yeah.
Speaking of, Dixie came out with a bunch of security guards. Somehow they had acquired the table that had her name on it, so she sat on it to cut this promo. Bragged about putting Ray through a table at the sacrifice show. Said she did it all because he had stabbed her in the back at lockdown. She said she was not afraid of Bully, but Bully should be afraid of her. Bully came out, and he tried and succeeded to reason with the security guards. Yes, Ryan?
Go on.
So he explained to them, do you guys really want to fight me to protect her? You want to see her go through a table as bad as I do?
Worse.
And they all looked back over their shoulder at Dixie in the ring, and they just looked at Bully, and they all just walked away. That was funny. So there were 3 geeks left in the ring. Bully went in to beat them up.
I love that in storyline, Dixie doesn't pay anyone jack shit.
So he beat up the 3 geeks, and it was just him and Dixie alone in the ring. And she threw a slap at him, but he blocked it and teased a powerbomb. But MVP came out, ordered all of this to stop. He said this was his ring, nobody else's. Ordered Dixie out of the ring, said he didn't have any time for this, and he barred both of them from the building.
Yeah. It was fine. I was laughing because you know the picture of the creepy Hogan doll.
Yes.
For the first time ever, I saw the Photoshop of the guy with the wide eyes after the Undertaker got pinned.
Yes.
And someone photoshopped the creepy Hogan guy sitting on his shoulder.
I see.
Nearly lost it right there.
I see.
Roof.
What?
Roof.
I see.
Yeah.
Willow versus James Storm. Remember when they used to say Relic is killer spelled backwards?
Yes.
All the time, every time?
Yes.
Their new one for that is Willow is the ultra-aggressive alter ego of Jeff Hardy.
Ultra-aggressive? He runs around with a fucking umbrella.
They repeated this over and over and over again.
I got a question.
Yeah.
Why is Jeff Hardy a wasp?
I actually had the same question. In storyline, he was pissed at Dixie, so he went crazy and donned this bizarre character.
Forget storyline.
Mm-hmm.
You're Jeff Hardy.
Yeah.
You're arguably the biggest babyface star in the entire company.
Yes.
He's dressed up like a wasp. Why?
Yeah, because he wants to.
Why would you? How? Oh, my God.
That's the answer. The answer is Jeff Hardy wants to dress up in the goofy costume.
Remember Juan Cena?
No.
You don't remember Juan Cena? When John Cena put on the mask? Google Juan Cena.
Right.
Refresh your memory. You know how many times Juan Cena appeared on WWE television? Not one single time. I don't know if it's because they were so worried to not have John Cena on television that they would not even put his alter ego on television. He only worked some house shows. And then he was just back as John Cena.
Oh, that's right, with the Nexus deal.
Yes.
Yes.
Juan Cena. Not one single solitary time did he appear on Raw or SmackDown in a mask, pretending to be his own alter ego. Meanwhile, Jeff Hardy is just a brand new character. Willow the Wasp. He's just killing himself here.
I like to think that TNA continuity drove him nuts. So they were brawling on the floor. Storm shoved down the ref for the DQ. And then I'm just going to read this sentence verbatim. He went to kill Willow with a broken beer bottle, but Willow fought him off with an umbrella.
Yes. Yes.
No exaggeration.
Umbrella
No falsehood.
is greater than broken beer bottle.
Yeah.
He didn't even stab him with it.
He whacked it with it. If Granny was to attack someone with an umbrella, it would have looked just like this. So Storm went to leave, but Anderson cut him off because Storm cost him the match earlier, and Anderson hit the mic check in the ramp, and Anderson really needs to stop doing that move in places that are not wrestling rings. Designed to be fallen on.
Oh, man. Now Will's upset that I called him a wasp. I know it's Willow the Wisp. It's stupid either way. He is neither a wasp nor a wisp. He's Jeff Hardy in a mask.
The BroMans bitched to MVP about their title loss, so he booked them against the Wolves and a mystery partner. And in hindsight, I have no idea why they didn't just say who the mystery partner was. It would have made no difference either way. Then Bully Ray arrived, and they screamed at each other for a while. Then MVP just said, look, I'm in charge of what happens in that ring. What happens outside that ring, I have no jurisdiction.
What a cop-out.
Eric Young cut a promo, talked about how he had a lot of history with Roode, and tonight he would find out who was the better man. I realized that if he's going to be champion, he can no longer do the goofball Eric Young promos anymore. But his new serious champion promos are so boring.
I like him. I think he's a good promo.
Some kind of happy medium.
I think it's a good promo.
So as the BroMans and DJZ against the Wolves and Sonata.
This was the best and worst of TNA. They have this match. It's the Wolves and Sonata against the BroMans. 6-man tag. I like this better than the pay-per-view match. Now, granted, I missed the first 10 minutes because of my cable provider. But from what I saw, I like this better. Good match. Great finish. The Wolves and Sonata beat the shit out of the BroMans and decisively beat them clean as a sheet. Now, granted, they beat Zema Ion. But the Wolves have beat the BroMans now twice. They beat them at the pay-per-view, and they beat them here on television. So one would think, if one thinks logically, that it's time for the Wolves to move on to their next challengers. Wrong! After beating the BroMans clean as a sheet, in fact, in the pay-per-view, it was 2-on-3 and they won. I should add that the BroMans complained to MVP about the man advantage, which was hilarious because they had it. I actually thought that was clever. But the Wolves have beaten them twice now, and this is leading to a ladder match between the Wolves and the BroMans. Why the fuck are the BroMans getting a third match after the Wolves have beat them twice? And furthermore, why are there ladders involved?
Don't know.
Ridiculous.
None of this makes any sense.
But this television match was awesome.
Yeah. Yes, it was. Beautiful people came out in evening gowns. They said they took orders from nobody and began to do a striptease. Taz and Nay basically admitted that they are drunk when they are announcing Impact. Of course, the beautiful people stopped stripping. They said, we wrote that letter ourselves just to fuck with you people. You don't deserve to see our goodies. Then Gail Kim came out. She vowed to strip them of everything. Tried to tear their clothes off, but they ran away. And then Brittany and Madison came off, and they tore their evening gowns off, revealing some very PG lingerie. It was a little bit more revealing than what they usually wrestle in. And that was it.
Listen, I don't want to be a pig. But if you want a positive review of an Impact segment, I don't see Velvet in her undies. And so they do this whole long tease, and then the babyfaces come out, and they strip these girls down, and they do it right in the entranceway, right by the deal. So the moment they're stripped down, they're gone.
Yeah.
Why even bother with the payoff then, if you're going to give us a payoff like that? The pig in me is disappointed.
Main event, Eric Young versus Bobby Roode, and the culmination of an epic 120-minute storyline.
Yeah.
It was a very good TV main event match.
Eric Young is a great professional wrestler. He's already so much better than Magnus. Actually was on week 1 when he actually won a match clean. But the more I see them push Eric Young as a champion who is just defeating one guy after another, the more I'm completely baffled at what they thought they were trying to accomplish with Magnus.
Well, that too.
Magnus is I don't care any more about Magnus. I probably care less about Magnus now than before he had his title run. His title run, I'm not sure what it accomplished. I'm baffled. Like, Magnus may have been the worst champion in the history of wrestling. At least it held the belt for more than like a day or two. Like, you'll never overachieve in terms of, making a worse champion than David Arquette, for example. But as far as a guy who was like your company champion for a period of time, I don't think, actually, that anyone has been worse than Magnus.
It'd be very hard to
And
find
I
one.
don't know what the point of it was. They're doing such a great job. Eric Young going out there and just, like, having great matches and beating everybody every week. This man is a great champion. It's too bad it's hard to take seriously after all the years of bullshit. But, hey, right now, I'm starting to take him seriously as their champion. So, how about you do that with all the guys? Heels can win every now and then, you know.
Yeah.
Fuck, if he would have won once, it would have meant something.
The negative here
I won't hear it.
has nothing to do with Eric Young. Has nothing to do with Bobby Roode. Has to do with the announcing, and in particular Taz.
Oh, not a fan?
They were having this match. It's two guys giving all they have for the championship of the world to determine who is the best wrestler on planet Earth. And Roode kicks out of a pile driver, and Young goes up for the elbow, but Roode crotches him and hits the Roode bomb and makes a cover, and Eric just barely kicks out, and they are holding nothing back and doing everything they can, and they're doing the boo, yay, punch spot, and the crowd's going nuts, and Taz just starts laughing and joking about the whole thing, basically not giving a shit about any of it.
Yeah.
So that sucked. Eventually, Young hit the top rope elbow and won. He offered Roode a handshake afterwards, and Roode kind of sort of accepted. In the last bit, the teaser for next week, Bully Ray had been banned from the building, but he was still there. And the cameraman walked up to Bully and said, "You have been banned from the building." Why is he still getting TV time? So Bully said, "Yes, I am banned here, so there's nothing else I can do. I'm going to Nashville." And that was it.
He's going to Nashville to put her through a table, apparently.
That is the plan.
I like this show. Thought it was a good show. I really like what they're doing with Eric. I think they're doing a good job with him. Wish they would have done this, 6 years ago, but what the hell can you do? So, yeah, there you go. Hopefully he keeps the title for a while and keeps... Hey, if Eric Young has a great match in the main event and beats a different challenger every single week for 3 months, I'll be happy.
Yes.
I got no problem with that. Let's try to make this title mean...
Bully Ray and a cameraman were driving around Nashville at what we were told was 9 a.m. He explained that he had been banned from hurting Dixie in the impact zone, but MVP's jurisdiction did not extend outside that building. Therefore, he had driven to Tennessee. His plan was to commit a premeditated violent assault on a woman in the workplace. And he brought a camera crew with him to document all this.
I don't think you're allowed to do this in real life.
This is a horrible idea. Every part of this. Eric Young came down to the ring in street clothes for a promo. I have not been a big fan of Eric's promo since he was champion.
What?
I have thought that he is basically, I thought he was phony. I thought he was too uptight. Everything he was saying the right things about wanting to be a fighting champion, and this is all about what I've done for the last 10 years, and this is for everyone who's been told, no, you're not good enough, but I've never really bought it. Here, he was much more relaxed, much more at ease, and I actually believed him for once. And he was still, by the way, he was not the old goofball Eric either. He was just a guy, and I liked him. So he explained he wanted to defend his title every week. He issued an open challenge. MVP, he said, had not booked him in a match, so he was booking himself in one. Bobby Roode came out to accept this challenge. They had a discussion in a chat for a while, talked about knowing each other. Even before the days of TNA, they've been wrestling together for 17 years, starting in Canada, and they agreed. Bobby Roode said, "You give me one more shot of that title, and if you beat me again, I will never challenge you for that belt again." And Eric agreed, and they shook hands. It went a little long, but it served its purpose.
TNA is always so big on history. They always have to have these promos where dudes just talk about history for like 10 minutes. Which I guess is nice to acknowledge history and everything like that, but it didn't really make me want to see them fight. But they did do a very good job of Roode. Roode made a good case for it. I will say that. I did like how Eric said, "You're right, we have made a lot of history, good, bad, and indifferent." TNA has, in fact, made a lot of indifferent history.
Most of it, in fact.
Yeah.
MVP met with Eric backstage. He informed Eric he was going to cancel this title match. Eric was upset. MVP said, I'm the one who's in charge of putting matches together, not you. They had a bit of a spat for a while. And then finally, MVP promised him a good opponent for Slammiversary and told him to take the night off. And Eric agreed.
I do love that. We wasted a good 15 minutes of our lives on an opening segment, and then they immediately just said the match ain't happening.
Yeah.
Not to mention 15 minutes to build up a match that we saw last week. Think about that.
That's also true. Evening gown match between the beautiful people against Madison Rayne and Brittany. I am happy they color coordinated the teams. The heels had matching dresses. The babyfaces had matching dresses. So the wrestling round for a while, and Brittany's dress got torn off. Her sea foam green underwear was revealed. And the babyface covered up in shame and cried and ran to the back. It was an elimination evening gown match, though, so the match continued.
Is there like a requirement about what you have to wear under your evening gown? Why didn't she just wear like a one-piece 1920s swimsuit if she was so afraid of being in her undies?
Wear your wrestling gear.
Yeah. You don't have to wear a thong. Unless maybe you do. I don't know. But she didn't, so I guess not.
Yeah. So, Madison at this point was outnumbered 2-on-1. She made her comeback. She disrobed Velvet to eliminate her.
They're clearly fucking with me now. Velvet stripped down, and they cut away from her, showed her for about a split second, and you never saw her again.
Yep.
Why bother?
We didn't even see her running to the back. I assumed she was just standing there at ringside, completely not caring.
Nope, she vanished.
She vanished, and then she came back down, wrapped in a towel, and she stood facing the ring, and the camera was behind her. And then she opened the towel, and we were led to believe that she exposed her nude form to the referee.
Except you could see all of the fans seeing her not nude and just being like,
So the referee was distracted.
Stifler.
Yeah.
Fitting.
Yeah. And Angelina sprayed hairspray in Madison's eyes and then yanked off her dress to win. It was long, it was sloppy, it was convoluted, and at the end of the day, not particularly scandalous.
Can someone explain to me if there are disqualifications in evening gown matches?
I don't know.
If the only way to win is to strip your opponent, can you win if someone runs in and sprays hairspray and the ref does see it? Like, can you be disqualified in an evening gown match? I don't know.
I don't see why not. I don't know. I don't know.
They just showed Big Show on the network, by the way. Press slam Rey Mysterio with one hand over the top rope to the floor.
Yeah, he's big and scary.
That was very, very impressive.
About 5 minutes before that, they showed Shawn Michaels' mullet in 1994. And I know I say this a lot, but that was worth the price of the network. What an amazing mullet he had.
I like how they had Mr. Perfect, and he had his hair tied back in a ponytail. And it was like long in the back, long on the sides, but like the top was short and curly.
I noticed that too. He had a reverse mullet.
It's like, what the? No, that was a regular mullet. Top short, back long.
The sides were long, though.
Yeah, so I don't even know what you'd call that. Just a bad haircut is what you'd call it. And then Jay here on Twitter says, I watched TNA with a friend. He asked who Willow was. I said Jeff Hardy. He turned off the television.
Oh, I envy you.
If only he'd seen Willow's promo.
Oh, my God. All right, I was behind at this point writing stuff down, so my notes here are brief, but they read, there was a horrible skit with Spud and Dixie. I have no idea what they were talking about. There was a fat guy in a Bully Ray shirt there, too. Did I miss anything of importance?
I don't think so.
All right. There's a man on the show named Bram. He was introduced last week.
I think that's correct.
No, I checked. It's on their website as Bram. He met with Magnus. He announced he had signed with the company. Apparently that is all you have to do to get a job in TNA is walk in and ask for a job and they'll give you one. He also announced that he had signed Magnus in a match against Willow. So to recap, Eric Young, TNA World Heavyweight Champion, is not allowed to book matches. But Bram, literally on his first day on the job, can.
You got it.
That's good to know.
But to be fair, Bram booking a World Heavyweight Championship main event.
I suppose. EC3 versus Kurt Angle. Kurt was running wild with suplexes when his knee buckled. The ref went to check on him, and Kurt waved him off and said, no, I'm fine. And they wrestled around a bit more. Ethan worked over the leg. Kurt made his comeback. He hit an Angle slam, and that was fine. And he popped up and pulled down the straps, and then his knee gave out. This is a very unusual knee injury.
I gave out again.
Yeah, but it was fine when he hit the Angle slam. It was only when he pulled the straps down that his knee fell. So Ethan hit a chop block, and then Ethan Carter III pinned Kurt Angle clean in the middle of the ring.
Yeah.
They had a great idea and story and layout for like a 15-minute match, but they only had about 3 minutes to try and pull it off. So Ethan left, went to commercial, and the guys were still checking on Angle in the ring. When they came back from the break, the guys were helping Kurt walk backstage, and Big was there.
Big John Kaburek, a television character now. Who would have ever fucking thought this would occur?
A booker who put himself on TV. How strange.
Just baffled.
Yeah.
It's
So,
very important that he was there, though.
Kurt explained he had felt a pop, and he acknowledged that he had blown out his knee, and Big gave him some advice. He said, go see the doctor.
Man, no wonder they gave this guy the book.
Thanks, Big. MVP came out for a promo, sucked up to the fans, apologized for canceling Eric's match, said it was very important that he maintain control of the company and not let the crazy, jacked-up pro wrestlers decide what was what. Somewhere in here, he got in a Big Lebowski reference, so that's a plus. Bobby Roode interrupted, all pissed off, and he demanded his title match. MVP said you'll have to earn it. Roode cut a great promo, fired up, listing all the titles he'd won in this company over the past 10 years. And MVP tried to leave, Roode pulled him back, and they got into a brawl, and then they were separated.
So is Roode turning babyface?
You would think.
He was a babyface in the opening segment. He's feuding with MVP, who's now a heel.
Yeah.
I
Apparently,
guess. I guess we'll see.
Maybe they're reuniting Team Canada. Bully met with Dixie's secretary, a terrible actress.
My exact words.
They had everyone in Bully Fears Dixie t-shirts. Spud tried to boss Bully around. Bully wasn't having any of it. Stormed into Dixie's office. She was not there. So Bully sent Spud to get coffee and then demanded that everyone else in the company have a meeting.
This was so... I mean, this was like the best of a bunch of horrible segments. It's just so dumb. Like the dumbest sitcom. So you're telling me that Dixie Carter in the offices in Nashville has required all of the employees, who are never on television, mind you, they just work there, to run around in Bully Fears Dixie shirts, and she has said somebody go to the trouble of putting Bully Fears Dixie on a Titantron in the office? I mean, come fucking on. Stupid.
Yeah.
Got worse.
So back in the parking lot of the Impact Zone, Knux's sister or girlfriend or whatever was spinning fire around for...
I think it's pretty well established, Vinny, this is his girlfriend.
All right, fine. Anyway, she was doing her fire dance in the parking lot for no reason.
Because she's crazy.
No, Steve is crazy.
You're right.
I don't know what she is. She's a rebel. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what rebels do. They play with fire in the parking lot.
So then Knux had a crate delivered. He explained they live here. Went to commercial. Came back. Security kicked Bobby Roode out of the building. Another clue that he is turning babyface. Wolves versus BroMans in a gratuitous championship ladder match. These guys, especially the heels, took a hell of a beating. I don't know why this ladder match happened.
Because you want to know how it happened? Because the champions beat the challengers clean last week in a virtual squash.
That is a poor
thus
reason.
Earning the challengers a ladder match the next week. Of course it makes no fucking sense.
Point is, they had a ladder match, had a lot of time, did a lot of crazy stuff. They, all five of these guys, including DJZ, wanted to have a good match. So a lot of insanity at the end. Eddie suplexed Jesse over the ropes, and in the process appeared to about 5 different ways they could have hurt Jesse's leg here. And then Robbie was on a ladder bridge stretched from the ring to the barricade, and Davey hit him with a foot stomp off the top rope, and the ladder didn't move at all. That looked brutal. So the Wolves were left to climb, and as they were about to grab the belts and win, Ziva Ion runs out, tries to make the save, climbs up the ladder. They hit him with the double Beal off the ladders over the top rope onto the guys on the floor. Pure insanity. They finally got the belts and won. Hell of a TV match.
I'll get my negativity out of the way first. Zima Ion, this stupid shithead. Why did you just fucking run in when the match started? Am I the only one upset about this?
You could ask
the
that.
The goddamn ladder match.
You're not wrong. You could ask this in every match with interference ever.
You're right. I could.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Either don't have anyone out there to run in, or don't have the guy out there like a goddamn moron, and then he runs in at the end when he could have run in at the very beginning. Stupid. But yes, they worked their asses off. It was actually a good match. They killed each other. They just killed each other. I'm not a fan of killing each other, but hey, they decided that they were going to go on Impact and kill each other, so more power to them. That's what they did. Wolves got the belts. But yeah, that suplex to the floor was insane. The double foot stomp on the ladder was insane. Why they did all this insane stuff, I have no earthly idea for Impact, but they did. So God bless them. That's my review. God bless them. And I hope he does, because they're going to be hurting.
Yeah. Rebel and Knux. We're talking about the crate. She was concerned that they might not be able to breathe in there.
This was...
So eventually...
I know where they found her, but where the fuck did they find her?
Where did they find her?
She used to... Christy Hemme, when Christy Hemme was in a dance troupe, this girl was in the dance troupe with Christy.
See.
And so Christy knew her, and now I guess Christy's on the creative team, and so she got her a job.
Got it.
But one thing they didn't do in this dance troupe, apparently, is act.
Yeah.
Sweet Jesus. And all she has is talking lines.
Yeah. She does do a lot of talking for someone who can't act.
She's got a great derriere.
That is true.
I'm trying to be polite because I'm not a pig. And she can do a lot of interesting stunts with her buttocks.
I thought you were going to say fire.
And fire. So just like have her do this stuff. Quit having her act.
Yes, no more speaking.
It's called hide their weaknesses and accentuate their strengths. Her strengths are that she has great buttocks, she can do the splits, and she can breathe fucking fire. So just have her do that. No more talking. I have no idea what Crazy Steve's strengths are.
No, zero. As far as
At least they figured out the muscle man.
So let's.
His strengths are that he has muscles. That's it. That's all he does.
So let's get into this.
And the people on stilts, their talent is they're on stilts.
Okay, you're getting ahead of ourselves.
Sorry.
So let's remind everyone. Knux had a crate delivered to the Impact Zone. And after a considerable amount of time, when he finally opened this crate, out walked a clown with balloons honking a horn. And yes, Rob Terry in a goofy mask and all of his muscles.
Yeah. And listen, everyone is in the right spot except for the girl.
And they all popped out of the crate. They went on their way, and Knux said this would be great. And I do not know how he came to this conclusion.
Well, so let's go over this one more time. Knux can wrestle, so he's the wrestler.
I see.
The guys on the stilts are capable of walking on stilts, and so they're stilt walkers.
I'm with you.
The muscle man just has muscles. Crazy Steve, I'm still not sold on Crazy Steve. I'm fixing to hate him, but I'm going to give him some time. And then there's the girl, who they need to just stop having her act. It's killing this act.
Yeah.
But hey, it's a very interesting gimmick. That I'll give them. This is an interesting, fascinating menagerie.
I guess.
It is. That is an unmistakable fact. This is a very interesting menagerie.
Spud couldn't find Bully. That was the whole segment. Kazarian versus Knux. My favorite part of this, actually, was Kazarian coming out and doing the whole bad influence entrance and then realizing, oh, yeah, Daniels doesn't work here anymore.
Yeah.
Went on down to the ring. So, yes, we are going to start with the positive. You mentioned this earlier, but it's true. Rebel's hot pants are, in fact, buys. That is a plus. I don't know why, after literally weeks of screaming and protesting about bringing in Crazy Steve and the Freak, now that they were here and all out in the open, she was happy to work with them.
Don't look at me.
So there were dudes on stilts out there, and Rebel was doing her fire dance without the fire, mind you. And Crazy Steve had his balloons.
Kind of kills the gimmick.
And Freak had his muscles. And in the middle of all this craziness and sideshow tricks, there's Knux in jeans and a wife beater. How does he fit in with this crew anyway?
Because he cares about his craft.
It's an odd pairing. So all this silliness is going on.
Wait a second. What's your question? Why is
everyone
Knux...
in the circus here has a circus gimmick? There's a clown, a muscle man.
His dad owned the circus. That's how he fits in.
I see. He's their boss.
Yeah.
They work for him.
I guess.
All right.
I'm not sure, but I know that Knux's family ran the circus or something.
I just thought he wanted to fix video games or something.
It's carnival. The games were in a carnival. We're not talking about a fucking Pac-Man. We're talking about the throw the darts at the balloon.
I see.
I think. I may just be making shit up because they haven't told me enough information.
I don't know. So Kaz rolled outside, and the Freaks tried to intimidate him, and it did not get over.
Crazy Steve tried to intimidate him by cocking his neck sideways.
Yeah.
That doesn't scare me.
I would think.
And he fell down and he honked a horn.
Yeah.
How about you, pull out a blade or something? That's scary.
That would be much more scary. So, in the actual wrestling that went on, Kaz looked really, really good. So, of course, he's the one man in the segment who's losing his job soon. And eventually, Knux won with the spine buster, and that was that. That's the menagerie, everyone.
That's the menagerie.
Don't think we missed anything.
Menagerie, not a tragedy.
Yeah. Spud found Bully's meeting. Bully had gathered all the employees and sat them together with their... Literally, every one of them had a laptop. Just sitting there. And he gathered them there, and they all chanted Bully Fears Dixie, and he said they had work to do.
Yeah, she's got a bunch of drones. That's the gimmick.
Yeah.
Her office, her corporate headquarters is a cult. That's what it is.
Yeah, I suppose that's true. Gunner and Anderson had a conversation. They talked about nothing, and then it ended.
I got nothing.
I don't know. So Ray now had all of Dixie's employees were drinking beer and dancing and partying to his theme song. Spud was outraged. He ordered them back to work. Ray asked him where Dixie was. Spud said he did not know. Ray then made him a deal. Share a beer with me and I will leave. Spud agreed, but it was a swerve. Ray powerbombed him through a table. He stole Spud's phone. He got Dixie's address so he could go murder her, I guess. And then he made the TNA employees chant for tables.
Am I really about to watch Shawn? Oh, it's Diesel.
It's Diesel versus Virgil.
Okay, we can keep moving. If this had been Shawn Michaels versus Virgil, I would have stopped this show and we would have done play-by-play.
It would have been better. Frankly, I think we still should.
No, I can call this match without watching it. Diesel hits a knee to the gut and then an elbow. Then he takes him to the corner and he puts his boot in his neck. No, I swear to God, I was not watching that right there. Now he's going to give him some elbows in the corner. He's going to give him snake eyes. He's going to give him a boot, and he's going to powerbomb him. Oh, wow.
Virgil's getting offense.
I was wrong.
You doubted Virgil.
Hey, you know what? I've learned my lesson. I'll never doubt Virgil again. He's getting heat on Kevin Nash right now as we speak, on Diesel.
Yeah, Big Daddy Cool.
I can't even believe this. What's Diesel thinking right about now?
Won't last long.
Yeah. He sure got his arm, though.
He's ringing the arm, and then he's punched.
He got punched in the face. That's what happens when you ring the arm too many times, everybody. You get punched right in the face.
It's a good rule of thumb.
Oh, I forgot the side slam. I should have known. Yeah, the big jumping side slam in there. We're just going to call this match?
I may as well. It won't last much longer.
Diesel's got his black glove on that he is adjusting, as well as his trousers. He's
Black?
He's got to adjust his trousers because after this match, he's going to put his hand in his pocket.
Right.
Here we go in the corner. We got to do the elbows. We'll see if he does his old his framing gimmick.
Camera dealy, yeah.
I don't know why. I guess Nash invented the selfie. Can we say that?
No, because he's looking at the other guy. It's some different. I don't know what you would call that shot he does. I know what you're talking about. Short arm clothesline.
Big lariat.
Don't recall that one. Oh, there's the fist in the air.
It is an amazing mullet that he is sporting.
That is undoubtedly true.
I've got to give it to the guy.
Although still, Sean's is better.
Yes, Sean's is much longer and more
we have a
flamboyant.
bear hug. All right, this is going on long enough. All of this, by the way, more productive than the Gunnar Anderson segment on Impact.
You're not going to tell me that Virgil's going to survive the bear hug.
I suspect he will. He's fighting out. He's hitting kind of Mongolian chops, sort of.
Oh, here this is the end. He's coming off the top. He's going to get caught. No!
Sean pointed, look out, Diesel. Virgil's on the ropes.
All right, this match has gone on way too long.
Oh, another bear hug.
A return to TNA. I've lost interest.
Would you rather do play-by-play for Diesel versus Virgil, or would you rather analyze this Willow promo?
Oh, I'd much rather analyze the Willow promo.
I have good news for you. It's time to analyze the Willow promo.
It's 1:09 a.m., and if I keep watching this Kevin Nash match, I'm going to be asleep. Guaranteed.
So Willow cut a promo. He recapped Jeff Hardy's feud with Magnus. He said their Dixieland match had consisted of many moves.
Hey, fact.
He said he did not fear Magnus.
He did not fear Magnus's reign.
Ah, I see. He did not fear Magnus's reign because he had an umbrella.
Get it?
And then he cackled.
Get it?
And here I wrote, this is the most perplexing wrestling show I've seen in some time.
He doesn't fear his reign.
All right, it's a pun.
Because he has an umbrella.
That made it a better joke if Magnus was still champion.
Well, there is that issue as well.
I'm not sure what his reign is at this point.
A reign of losing?
Magnus versus Willow.
This is the third bear hug in this fucking match.
Yes. Just keep squeezing, Kev.
Come on.
He'll give up eventually.
You're not going to squeeze him unconscious, dude. You've tried twice.
So, Willow wrestled Magnus. The only notable thing here before the finish is that Willow's offense includes a spot where he does a cartwheel and then slaps the man.
And god damn, what a bad cartwheel.
That too.
It's kind of a cartwheel. It's kind of a round off. It's all horrible.
So Bram, who set this up in the first place, attacked Willow and threw him in the stairs, resulting in a disqualification and costing Magnus the match that he booked. It's a bad friend. He beat up Willow for a while. Magnus was just confused. And then Bram handcuffed Willow to the ropes, began to beat him with a turnbuckle. Willow sold this with what I think was supposed to be maniacal cackling.
I think he was crying.
It may have been openly
I'm not
weeping.
sure. He was shrieking and his teeth were chattering.
Magnus walked out. Bram followed. This sucked.
Diesel just did one great high spot, power bombed him, and now he's pinning him.
Mm-hmm. How many
Do we
stars?
really need the 3 bear hugs?
How many stars did you give this match?
Dude, that was a half a star.
Yeah.
That's the best I can give it.
You may not be wrong.
That's being generous. Anyway.
MVP told Eric, who for some reason was still there, He was about to learn his opponent for Slammiversary. The doctor told Kurt his ACL was torn and he needed surgery. Kurt did not take this news well.
How the hell did the doctor in the back know this without a proper medical examination?
Tea leaves. MVP brought Eric down to the ring. Put him over like $1 million. Said, I need a whole company of guys like you. Here is your new #1 contender. And he pointed to the entranceway. And there was no music or video and no guy. There's breasts on TV. I'm not sure what this is 1994?
Yeah.
There's a guy laying there, and an attractive woman is putting her large fake breasts against him. He's laying there in his wife beater. He's surprised by something. He's turning on television because it's time for Raw, so he's going to turn down a sexual encounter with this woman.
Unbelievable, it says. I'll say.
Unbelievable.
Someone tell me who that woman was. All right, go on.
I suspect there are dozens of Cinemax women that could have been. Anyway, MVP sucker punched Eric and laid him out. And when you look in the dictionary, I don't think this is actually a dictionary entry, but if you did, and you found fake booing, this is the segment.
They turn it up loud.
I've been there. Loud fake booing, chants of you suck over and over again. And if you actually looked at any of the fans, any of them, they were doing one of two things. Sitting there bored or clapping for MVP.
Yeah. That's pretty amazing.
So there was no explanation for any of this, but MVP is now a heel. He's going to form a group with Bobby Lashley and Kenny King, and I don't know if this is official on TNA or just a great joke from our board, but they're going to be called Creationism.
That's my joke. That's my joke from the Dave Show.
Somebody made the joke on the board and actually wrote a song.
Oh, actually, yeah, the song they wrote, I fucking cried with laughter. It was so good.
I'm actually trying to look it up right now.
I want you to sing it.
I don't know if I can sing it, but I can speak it.
You got to sing it to the Evolution theme.
All right. So the show opened with footage from moments ago. Eric Young was attempting to confront MVP in the parking lot, but MVP security crew held him off.
Thank God someone's got good security here for once.
Yeah. So Eric came down to the ring instead. He said he was happy when MVP arrived because, quote, anything's better than Dixie Carter.
It's true. Especially on this show.
But again, why would you promote your own management as incompetent? Said MVP had screwed him, dared him to come fight. MVP appeared on the screen and said his goal all along was not to be in management, but he wanted the world title. And why did he want the world title? Because then he'd have power.
Yes.
And the example he used was how, despite the scandal, I guess, for lack of a better word, involving Donald Sterling, the LA Clippers still were going for the championship and the power. Now, aside from this not making any sense, literally head-to-head with this show, the Clippers were knocked out of the playoffs.
Well, pre-tape.
So, he said that his plan had been to go for the championship all along, so I assume he was going to screw Magnus at some point. He didn't really clarify this. And it's a little like the Bray Wyatt promos. MVP's delivery was excellent.
He actually was really good.
The content made no sense.
Yeah, I was actually very impressed with MVP's verbal performance here in this backstage segment.
Yes, he dared Eric to try and get past his security, and Eric stormed backstage. We had 1,000 5-second skits about Spud and Dixie and Dixie's house and Bully Ray. So Spud and Dixie arrived at Dixie's house. She had cameras there to record whatever Bully tried to do to her, and drove up to the house and found a table that spray-painted Dixie Fears Bully. They showed Bram beating up Willow last week. Then we got a Willow promo, which is always
awesome.
an adventure.
Yes.
He challenged Magnus and Bram to a handicap match. So the match started in the next segment backstage.
Let's stop right there.
All right.
First off, does Bram have to look exactly like Gunner?
Yes.
Can we not give him something that differentiates him from Gunner?
He also resembles James Storm.
That's also true.
Yes.
Now, second, and I'm cutting ahead here a little bit. So you've got this new guy, Bram. And in his debut, he works a random, unannounced, at least prior to this point, three-way match in which he does not come out the winner. Talk about immediately getting a dude over as just another guy. It's all TNA is full of is just another guy.
Yeah.
One just another guy after another. And now they got a new guy, Bram. I don't know if Bram's any good. I don't know if he'll be any good. I don't know anything about the guy. I saw him wrestle here a little bit. Maybe he's great. Maybe he's not. But you know what he is right now? He's just a geek on Impact. Because his debut was a random three-way, and Willow pinned Magnus, if I recall correctly.
That's correct. So they started backstage because Jeff wanted to do a spot where he would slide down the guardrail and bump into somebody. And they had their match, and Bram wanted Magnus to use a weapon. Magnus says, no, I don't want to be disqualified. The only rational person on the show. And then, of course, Willow pins Magnus with a small package. Bram and Magnus bickered. Bram just debuted in this company, and they're already doing a breakup angle.
Oh, yeah.
This was his second match.
His second?
He had one match against Willow, but he got DQ'd.
What?
Oh, wait, no. I'm sorry, I'm remembering that wrong. He had them. This was his first match.
Yeah.
He got Magnus a match against Willow and then beat up Willow himself.
That's right, yes.
That's why I got confused. Okay, it's his first match, and they're already doing a breakup angle. Yeah.
Sucks.
Oh, it sucks. It sucks and sucks and sucks. Eric trashed MVP's office. Security was there, just watched. Dixie and Spud found more tables in the yard. Bully called her. She put the call on speaker. He said he was inside the house. Dixie spent Spud and the cameraman inside to investigate.
God damn, this guy went to a lot of trouble.
Bully?
He got a bunch of tables, spray painted them, littered them all about the property. Dude, you got nothing better to do with your life?
No, he doesn't.
All of these segments were so stupid.
Yeah.
Acting was just atrocious.
Yeah. Gail came out for a promo. She said she was not about evening gowns or makeovers. She was just a passionate, hardest working woman on the roster. Challenged both of the beautiful people to a fight. Is exactly what Willow had just done in the last segment. So the beautiful people came out. They talked for a while, and then Velvet accepted Gail's challenge for a one-on-one match.
I think Gail's like 37. Can you believe that?
Yes. I think about it, because she was... I remember her debuting briefly in the WWF at the time, in like 99. Maybe I had that wrong, but she's been around a while. She just still looks great. Should emphasize that. So this match, there was a brown paper bag, and Velvet stopped in the middle of the match to fix her makeup, and then Gail hit Eat Defeat and won. And Angelina laid Gail out anyway. As my notes here read, the Menagerie were in the back being wacky.
That barely even covers it.
Ethan cut a promo bragging about tearing Kurt's ACL and ending his career.
I got to mention one thing about Gail Kim and Velvet, though. It's not like I haven't said this 1,000 times. Velvet is going to kill herself. Her bumps, she falls on her tailbone, she falls on her ass, she falls on her elbow. I mean, can somebody in a non-perverted way approach her in a friendly manner and say, hey, would you like to do some training together? Let's work on your flat back bumps. Because maybe you'll have a longer career, or forget the career, maybe you'll have a pleasant post-wrestling experience in your life by not fucking bumping on all these bones and joints. Just trying to help.
Yeah. Kazarian versus Crazy Steve.
Oh my God. This!
So it's not just me. That's good.
No! What do you mean it's not just you?
I thought maybe I overreacted.
No, it's Big Jim and clearly no one else in the world.
So, the clown was out there, and the fire dancer, and the big muscle guy, and the stiltman. You do realize that somebody someday is going to push the stiltman over and through a table.
I just cannot believe that in a company with a limited budget, They didn't re-sign AJ Styles.
No.
They didn't re-sign Chris Daniels.
No.
They didn't re-sign Kazarian.
No.
They didn't re-sign Sting.
No.
I'm probably missing about 50 guys.
Uh-huh.
They're spending the money on a girl that does the splits and 2 dudes on stilts, in addition to still employing Rob Terry and whatever this Crazy Steve is.
Yeah.
They're paying for 5 people for this act.
Yes.
Some people were... I made a comment yesterday that I got people jumped on me about when I was comparing the pay scale of Ring of Honor to TNA. And I did say, because people don't listen, that's the problem. I did note that there are several people in TNA that skew this drastically. There's nobody in Ring of Honor making anything near what, for example, Jeff Hardy, I'm sure MVP, apparently the Wolves are making a lot more money right now. But I don't think people understand just how little certain people are making in TNA. Chris Daniels on this show, on this very show, I asked him why he was released. I said, or why he was not re-signed. And I said, the story, Mr. Daniels, because I call him Mr. Daniels because I'm polite. The story, Mr. Daniels, is that you were one of the highest paid wrestlers, and so they allowed your contract to expire so they would not have to pay this expense. And you know what he said? He said, I saw all my checks, and I find it hard to believe I was one of the highest paid guys on the roster. So no, I'm not completely out of my mind when I compare the Ring of Honor salaries to some of the salaries, not all of them, but trust me, there are people in TNA that are making no money. Like these guys on stilts. There's no way these guys are getting paid anything. It's impossible.
Maybe they can work with Taylor Wilde at the cell phone stand.
Maybe. Yeah, Sunglass Hut.
Yeah.
Did you guys forget that story? Taylor Wilde, when she quit because someone found she was working at Sunglass Hut to supplement her income as TNA Women's Champion? These people are not making millions here.
So I'm just going to read from my notes because I have forgotten the specifics of this. I just remember hating it.
I remember every specific. I didn't even take notes.
Menagerie are now doing the new Jack gimmick with the music playing throughout the entire match.
Yes.
Steve popped his own balloons with a top rope splash. Soon, Freak was on the apron, and Rebel was flipping in the ropes, and the ref got pantsed, and Kazarian just left.
The ref disqualified Steve for pulling his trousers down.
Officially, Kaz won by DQ.
To be a first. That has to be a first. Can anyone ever find an instance of a man being disqualified for pantsing the referee? This was probably, everyone, Kazarian's final match in TNA.
Yes.
He won
by DQ.
He won the match on his way out over the debuting Menagerie.
Yes.
He won.
He defeated them.
They couldn't even get a win over a big star leaving. Think about that. Who writes this show? The Menagerie? This guy, this Crazy Steve.
I closed the segment with, this was some goddamn terrible TV right here.
Kazarian on his way out goes, that was a hell of a wrestling match. That's what he said on the way out.
What do you say?
That was a hell of a wrestling match.
I missed that.
Yeah.
I need to go back.
Right into the camera as he's
never
leaving.
Going back, but
He'll find it.
And
now where's he going? To Ring of Honor.
Good.
Yeah. Thank God. Thank God Daniels and Kazarian have found their way back to Ring of Honor. And yes, they probably will make less in Ring of Honor than they made in TNA. But it's going to be a lot better. They're going to be a lot happier.
There's more to life than
They're
money.
going to get a lot of dates.
Yeah.
I'm not talking women.
Austin Aries tried to get an MVP. Security held him back and led him away, but that left MVP exposed, and Eric Young attacked him. And as the world champion is having a fist fight with the director of wrestling operations, whatever the hell his title is, as the champion's fighting the GM, Mike Tenay very calmly says, "Please stay tuned. The cameras will keep rolling."
I liked when, I don't want to forget about this later, when they show the deal of the climax of the Dixie Bully deal where Ethan Carter attacks Bully from behind and he hits him in the head and Bully falls down dead. And they cut back to Tenay and Taz is like, man, she really set him up. And TNA goes, "You're right, Taz. She sure did." Like he's smiling ear to ear the whole time. This show sucks.
It is a horrible, horrible show. So, when they came back, TNA was not lying. The brawl was still going on. And more specifically, Eric Young was getting his ass kicked. What a champion. Just a guy from behind that still loses.
Why doesn't MVP just, like, strip him of the title and suspend him? Because he suspended Bobby Roode in storyline.
I don't know.
For attacking him.
I don't know. Most TNA matches are significantly shorter than this unsanctioned brawl. They fought and fought and fought. There was no heat for any of it. Finally, security just showed up and pulled them apart. Crowd finally got into it and said, let them fight. And so MVP kicked Eric Young's ass again. And here I wrote, what is going on?
I ask myself that a lot. I don't know.
The next segment, I will read this verbatim. Spud and the cameraman found Bully, or rather, Bully found Spud.
Mm-hmm.
That's all that happened. Mr. Anderson versus James Storm. As usual, it would take me more time to describe the finish than the actual match itself took place. Suffice to say that Storm spat beer in Anderson's face and did a super kick for the win.
You know, it's funny. This went 5 minutes. This and the Sonata match both went 5 minutes. And I don't know why, but they felt like they went 20 minutes. And it's not bad. I mean, I thought the finish of this match actually was awesome, where Storm grabs the bottle, and the referee... Or no, he grabs the bottle.
See,
and
it's what's going on.
No, I remember this. Because I thought it was great, actually. He grabs the bottle, and Mr. Anderson grabs him for the mic check, so he drops the bottle. The referee goes to remove the bottle so his back is turned, which allows Storm to spit beer in the eyes and hit the super kick and pin him. I thought it was a great finish. I like this. But when I watched it, I was like, what is all of this leading towards?
Well, yeah.
Where is this going with... James Storm just beat Mr. Anderson. I could have sworn Mr. Anderson like a month ago was a main character here with the whole Christy Hemme and Sam Shaw deal. And now all of a sudden he's just a dude. Like, can they go anywhere with anybody?
Speaking of Sam Shaw.
Oh, my God.
He was in the loony bin. He was just saying Christy's name over and over again.
So, if you're obsessed with a girl, you could be put in a sanitarium, in a padded room, in a straitjacket?
Sure.
Really?
I don't know. Ask Brent.
I mean, he did stalk her, but I would think that he would just be put in jail. I mean, what did he do to deserve being locked up in a padded room in a straitjacket?
I'll answer that question. He lost a wrestling match.
Oh, that's right.
And the loser of the match was committed.
I forgot. Now that you explain it.
See, don't you feel dumb?
You know piss me off about it?
Everything?
No, there's something that actually really did actually piss me off. I don't even know why. I mean, the whole thing is stupid. Of all the things to make me mad, what made me most upset about this was not that this guy got sent to a sanitarium and was put in a straitjacket in a padded room because he lost a professional wrestling match, but rather, they go to Sam Shaw. He's in a padded room. He's in a straitjacket, and he's either in a stupor or he is drugged out of his mind, correct?
I thought he was just crazy.
Okay, fine, crazy. But he's in a straitjacket, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Who is combing and shaving him every day?
Don't know.
His hair was perfectly combed, and his face was baby smooth. Not an inch of stubble, nothing.
I don't have an answer for that question.
They couldn't even say, hey, Sam, don't shave for a few days and don't comb your hair when we shoot this segment. He looked exactly... I can't take it no more. I can't take it!
The only good thing in TNA anymore, Sonata training videos.
All I can think is that New Japan is actually, it's not New Japan. I think it's all Japan. But regardless, they're demanding that they handle all of Sonata's stuff.
That would make sense, actually.
Because it's so...
We will send you the videos.
Goddamn
You
good.
put them on TV. This is about him studying his matches obsessively on the treadmill or sitting alone in the ring, watching him over and over again, watching to find his mistakes and fix them.
Wrestle one. I apologize, everybody.
This is great. The three-way was DJZ versus Tigre Uno versus Sonata. I did note here you were correct. They had tons of time. And you're probably right. It probably was about 5 minutes.
It was 5 minutes.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned earlier you like the finish for the Anderson Storm match, which I thought was too complicated. I love the finish to this match. Sonata hit DJZ with a springboard chop. Then he hit a tiger suplex and pinned him.
Yeah.
That's a great finish.
Great.
Hit him with some goddamn wrestling moves.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I will read verbatim. Bully called Dixie from Spud's phone and told her she was all alone. An entire segment.
And so what did she do?
I forget.
She went in.
No. Gunner. Okay. And then I wrote, Gunner went to see Sam Shaw. Literally nothing happened. They recapped Angle's injury and his surgery. Said he'd be back in 5 months. Dixie was in the house defending herself with a fireplace poker. She found Spud tied up on the floor. Ray revealed himself. He wanted Dixie to admit she was afraid. And then Ethan appeared and laid him out from behind. And that was the payoff for all this.
Yeah. Bully came off as such a charmer.
I guess.
Such a great baby face.
Yeah.
Shouldn't he be sent to a goddamn sanitarium? He's doing the exact same thing.
He didn't lose a wrestling match.
He's doing the exact same thing to Dixie that Sam Shaw was doing to Christy. Sam Shaw is in a sanitarium in a straitjacket, and Bully Ray is going to be in the main event next week.
Yeah, you make some good
Ridiculous.
points.
Unfair. Sam Shaw needs a better... Where's Todd? He needs a good lawyer to handle this situation.
Yeah. They recapped Bobby Roode's storyline, said he had been suspended. And the main event was Eric Young versus MVP. All right, let's think about this now. MVP is in charge of everything that happens in the wrestling ring.
Mm-hmm.
And at the top of the show, he admitted his goal all along was to be world champion.
Mm-hmm.
How could this possibly go wrong? He should have. How could he possibly have walked out of the show not being champion?
Actually, believe it or not, they did a pretty good job. Kind of.
No.
Come on, Vinny.
Carry on. Try to play devil's advocate.
All right. So, they have a match, and Kenny King ran in and attacked Eric Young and knocked him out.
Yeah.
This was a disqualification.
Correct. Because MVP was not smart enough to make it no DQ.
Well, that's a problem.
Yeah.
So then MVP demanded Brian Hebner restart the match.
He did.
And Hebner said he wasn't going to restart it. And so MVP said, if you don't fucking restart this match right now, I'm going to fire you.
Yeah.
So before Hebner had a chance to act,
yes,
Kenny King knocked him out.
Right.
So therefore, the match could not be restarted. So MVP tried, but
Kenny King fucked it up.
He's got an idiot for a partner.
Yes.
Which is not his fault. I mean, right?
Really, it's not. Why did he fire Kenny King?
Well, everybody's got a friend
why
who's
did
an
he
idiot.
fire Eric?
He's a nice guy. Listen, I don't know why he didn't fire
None
Eric.
None of this makes any sense.
Because he thinks he can beat Eric. And he wants to win that. Look, Vinny, stop asking me. I didn't write this show. I just thought they at least tried to explain why MVP didn't have the match restarted and win it. Because he's got an idiot friend. That's at least an answer.
And you can grasp that concept?
Yes, it's bad answer, but at least it's an answer. He has an idiot friend.
Why didn't he bring out another ref?
Well, I don't know.
There is no good reason MVP should have failed in this, except he's an incompetent boof.
Well, that's everyone in this company.
I know, that's the
is
problem.
A numbskull.
They find a new way for people to suck every week.
A numbskull.
Mike today said, and this is very, very close to a direct quote, "This doesn't make sense, but then nothing in this company makes sense." So Lashley came out too. They power slammed Eric through 2 chairs. They all posed over him with the belt that MVP could actually have if he'd had a brain. And finally, I wrote, a boring, stupid show.
You missed the end.
What was the end?
Lashley.
I said, let's talk about that.
Oh. Where was I?
I don't care.
So yeah, Lashley, it's now the crew.
It's creationism.
It's creationism. Creationism is a mystery. 6,000 years of history.
You see.
Something
like that.
Yeah.
So don't watch Impact, everyone. Do not watch Impact.
Man, I
And by the way,
I watched it. Hey, listen. I came back and watched this show. Believe it or not. When I was gone, I had no desire to go out of my way to find this show on the road. But I came back and watched it for all of you. Because it's my job. What were you going to say?
Did you read The Last Observer?
The most recent one?
Yes.
Not yet.
Dave detailed the taping results of TNA. And as I was formatting them, I was reading them, and going through, and just my jaw was just open. These shows sound so horrible.
Yeah.
Over the next month or so.
What do we got coming?
I don't even know if I remember specifically. In fact, I know I don't. Let me look it up. I should have looked it up before. But I just remember thinking, my God, this show's going to be awful for a month. My notes are opening on that. All right. Got to start Word. Yes, I keep those notes in Word.
I'll just hang out here.
Why don't you beep up around for a while?
That's what I've been doing.
Yeah.
So I missed your Lashley line.
Continue to bebop.
Well, everybody, I had a good time at the Grand Canyon.
Yeah, talk about your trip. That's a good idea.
I had a good time. We went to the Grand Canyon, which is in fact very grand. I got some exciting news for everybody. Actually, I may as well mention it now. Years ago, I was listening to Coast to Coast AM. I think it might have been with Art Bell. I don't remember who the host was, but he had a guest on, and this guest is he told this amazing story about the Grand Canyon. David Hatcher Childress is his name. You may have heard of him. I believe he's been on Ancient Aliens. But he talked about lost cities and ancient mysteries of the American Southwest. And this was the greatest radio show of all time. And he told the story about supposed Egyptian artifacts that had been discovered in the Grand Canyon. There was actually a newspaper report around the turn of the century detailing this. And of course, it's very likely bullshit because there's a lot of newspaper stories around the turn of the century that were nothing but bullshit. But regardless, I'm talking late 1800s, early 1900s. But regardless, I always wanted to get this guy on the show. And guess who has agreed to be on After Dark?
This guy.
David Hatcher Childress is going to be on After Dark. I'm so excited for this show, I can barely contain myself. But anyway, I remember hearing this and I just thought, all right, so supposedly these artifacts have been found in the Grand Canyon. Has no one gone back to look? I mean, how many places could there be in the Grand Canyon to find, to misplace these Egyptian artifacts, if they are there? I was aware that the Grand Canyon was big, but I was unaware of the full scope of the Grand Canyon. The Grand Canyon stretches like 300 miles.
Yeah.
300 miles. It is 20 miles across. It is a mile deep. You could fucking park Jurassic Park in there and you wouldn't find half the dinosaurs. So yes, the first time I went over the ridge and I saw the Grand Canyon with my own two eyes, if you've never been to the Grand Canyon, I want you to Google pictures of the Grand Canyon, and I want you to look at them. And I'm telling you, as God is my witness, when you see the Grand Canyon, you may as well be looking at the photographs that you're looking at right now on Google, because it doesn't look real. It looks like you're looking at like a painting. It's ridiculous. So the Grand Canyon was awesome. But then, on the way back, we stopped at a place called Bryce Canyon. Bryce. If you've never heard of or been to Bryce Canyon, I want you to Google it and look at the pictures. This was awesome. It was not as grand, obviously, as the Grand Canyon. It wasn't even close to being as grand in size. But as far as just like the view, the canyon itself, this thing was outstanding. So we saw Bryce Canyon. That was amazing. And on the way back, we had a little bit of extra time, and so we swung back through Blackfoot, Idaho. What is Blackfoot, Idaho? Every single summer when I was a kid, my parents dragged me to Blackfoot, Idaho for 2 weeks because my grandma and my grandpa lived there. And I had to go there every single year. I always dreaded it. I mean, it wasn't bad, but like you're a kid and you're leaving all your friends during the summer and you're going to this place to meet your grandparents. You don't even speak English and you don't speak Spanish. So there's a limited amount of conversation that can be had anyway. It's a small town, and literally the only thing to do is go swim in the swimming pool. But I went there every year till I was about 15. And so on the way back, we swung through Blackfoot, Idaho. I went to the house that we went to every summer, which is still there. I went to the Blackfoot Municipal Pool, which is still there. And I went to the bowling alley, which were the three things that we went to when we were in Blackfoot, Idaho. And I took photographs of it, and it was a pretty amazing trip down memory lane. But those were the fun things. Had a great time. We slept at a lot of Best Western hotels. 2 thumbs up to Best Western. They treated us very well. A lot of good free breakfasts. And we had a good time. So if you ever get a chance to go to the Southwest, Grand Canyon, Bryce Canyon, and it's just a really fun drive throughout the mountains and the desert. So I had a good time. 2 thumbs up.
All right, I'm glad you had fun. That was a fine review.
Yeah.
Fine review. All right, I'm not going to read like the entire spoilers because then there would be no point in watching this show, and Lord knows what a tragedy that would be. But the next show opens with Creationism coming out. The Wolves come out to confront them. The Wolves get their asses kicked because that's what happened to good guys in this show. Then Eric Young comes out, and he gets beat up by Creationism.
Please tell me Dave referred to them as Creationism.
Sadly, no.
Oh, man.
Dixie and Ethan come out. And actually, that sounds okay. Edwards comes out. He is upset that Davey Richards got beat up, and so Kenny King goes out and he beats up Edwards again. That's 3 times in the show Creationism has beat somebody up.
You got to get him over. Unlike Bram.
Lashley fought Young in a non-title match, and Creationism interfered again. 4 times on one show. Menagerie are going to feud with the BroMans. You have that to look forward to.
Oh, my God. Come on.
Yes. So Samoa Joe comes back. Where's this one?
I forgot he was still working here.
Samoa Joe comes back, and he's on Eric's side, and this pisses MVP off. So MVP books Joe versus Eric in a loser leaves TNA forever match. He says there must be a winner.
Let me guess.
Excuse me, it's just Joe versus Aries. But there's a loser must leave TNA match. There must be a winner. There's a whole segment where he tells the referee, you must do the right thing or you're out of a job. No DQ, no canos, no draws, no double pins, or else you're fired. So the match ended without a winner. Ref gets laid out. No finish. And then Creationism comes out and interferes again. This is what we have to look forward to.
I've heard enough.
Show opened with MVP and his crew walking backstage. They passed Kazarian on the phone talking to Chris. Kaz called Kenny homie. Kenny kicked his ass. Kaz was kind of being a dick there. So they all came down to the ring for a promo. And MVP was ranting on about money and power, mostly money. Kenny called it dat paper. I thought perhaps the Urban Wrestling Federation was back.
I wish.
Sadly, yes. That would have been much better. So Kenny said, yes, I had matches with MVP and Lashley, but those were my idea, and it was to throw everyone off the scent. Who was on the scent? Who was he trying to swerve?
I got a better question for you. So MVP is celebrating the fact that now he has power, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I could have sworn he had fucking as much power before. He was the head of wrestling operations as a babyface.
Yeah.
He has now turned heel What additional power does he now possess?
2 scary men to beat people up for him.
Bobby Lashley, prior to this, was a babyface. They couldn't have been a babyface crew. What benefit has he gained by turning heel? What additional power has he gained? This doesn't make any sense. You know what's funny, too? Is at the end of the show, I'm just going to jump all the way forward. I don't give a shit. At the end of the show, you had everybody is beating up 2 baby faces. There's 3 against 2. And Mike Tenay is going out of his way to explain that the reason that nobody is coming out of the locker room to save these baby faces is because they're afraid of MVP, that he might fire them, right?
Yeah.
And he's repeating this over and over again to hammer it into our heads why this makes sense. And I'm like, you guys are so concerned about this fucking thing making sense, and meanwhile the rest of your show is just completely preposterous. It just kind of amazes me sometimes what they do care about in terms of making sense and what they absolutely don't care about whatsoever. Like, why MVP has this additional power now that he's turned heel. He has exactly as much power as he did a week ago. He's just bad now.
I still want to know why he is so determined to win the championship, and this will somehow give him more power.
I don't know.
How does that work?
Because, actually, to be fair, historically, this is just their storyline. If you have the title, you have power. Now, granted, it doesn't appear to me that Eric Young has any fucking power whatsoever.
Not a bit.
He can't even sign his own fucking matches.
No.
This show's stupid. But go on.
It is. So Lashley talked about politics. He called MVP a visionary. The Wolves interrupted. They said MVP had brought them into the company and told them it was about wrestling. It was not about money, which sounds like the kind of thing you will tell someone when you're trying to sign them to a cheap contract. So MVP took credit for the fact that they were tag champs on national TV and not taking 15-hour bus rides in Japan. He said he had kept them in the dark because they were not mean enough for his plan or something like that. A brawl broke out. Remember those words. The Wolves lost because there was 2 of them and 3 of the bad guys. So they took Davey to the top of the stage. And MVP held him. And Lashley hit him with a spear. And both Lashley and Davey went flying through the air and then through a table that was on the ground. A table, by the way, that didn't really seem to break their fall much at all. It's pretty scary. So both men go flying through the air. Both men go through the table. Both men crash to earth. Somehow this hurt Davey and not Lashley.
Yeah. Well, Lashley landed on him. This is the least of our worries.
Fair enough. So the segment ended. All the bad guys went backstage. I will say some positive things. I thought MVP, Kenny King, and yes, Davey Richards were very good talkers in this segment. Bobby Lashley was not.
No.
Showed Eric Young walking backstage alone with no friends. It showed Dixie and Ethan Carter arriving. Eric Young came out for a promo. He needs new music and video immediately. I believe I say that every week. Before he could say much, MVP came out. They bickered. Eric said he was disappointed in Lashley, and someday Lashley would have to explain himself to his son. Finally, the heels attacked. A brawl broke out. Number 2.
By the way, are we sure that this was not 2 different opening segments on the tapings that got put together on accident, one right after the other?
I don't know, and I don't care.
They do an opening segment, they go to the back, and then they come back, and they did a second opening segment with the exact same guys.
Yes. Yes. So Aries ran out to join the fight. He made a great comeback, actually. And the babyfaces cleared the ring. Aries challenged MVP to a match. MVP accepted, and he also said Young would have a match tonight, but he refused to name Eric Young's opponent. Gunner was watching backstage. I thought it was Gunner. It turned out to be Bram.
Yeah.
Too many white guys with beards on the show.
And wrestling.
And brown hair. So Bram told Magnus that he had booked Magnus in another match against Willow tonight. So Eric Young has no power, but
I was gonna
Bram
say,
does.
How come Bram could sign all these matches and Eric Young is just powerless?
I don't know.
Who is this Bram?
I don't know. So Magnus kicked Bram's ass for booking him in this match, but Bram laughed and said that was the Magnus he wanted.
Great.
Angelina issued an open challenge for the title. Gail walked up and accepted and kicked her ass. There was some terrible acting here.
A brawl broke out.
Yeah, a brawl broke out.
A brawl broke out here on the first half hour of the program, and we had 3 brawls and no matches. And 2 opening segments.
Yes.
And 25 other segments.
So, beautiful people came out for a promo. Here is where I wrote, we are 35 minutes into the show and have not had an actual wrestling match yet. She reissued her open challenge, said no former champions were eligible. They talked about newbies and had a laugh. They are taking shots at Total Divas. This is amazing. Brittany accepted the challenge, and I will admit she is a newbie.
She is a newbie.
So we wait more than a half hour for a match, and we are rewarded with Angelina versus Brittany.
3 minutes.
3 minutes. I don't know. I believe this is what passes for an acceptable wrestling match in 2014.
On Impact.
On Impact.
Not
Brittany
in a
had a
normal
pin.
program.
Velvet distracted the ref with her ass. Angelina won with a bicycle kick. They put makeup on Brittany and they put a bag on her head. Once this was done, Gail Kim ran out and a brawl broke out.
No.
Yep. So, at this point in the show, by my count, and Lord knows I may have missed something, 1 match, 4 promos, 3 brawls.
It's like the 12 days
And
of
actually,
Christmas.
that 3 brawls is wrong. There's more than that.
Yeah. I
forgot the one backstage.
So Angelina is a heel that is trying to ensure that she does not lose the title by only offering matches to the newbies, right?
I don't know.
That appears to be. She's always trying to find some sort of rigmarole to not face anybody real.
Okay.
So why does she even put the title on the line?
I don't know. Why does anyone in this company do anything?
I don't know. And that is a goddamn good question.
Dixie learned that she had been banned from the building. Then she said she was still president and would address MVP tonight. Who the fuck is in charge? Anderson and James Storm had better things to do than go to Impact. They went to a bar to drink beer.
Yeah.
I was so jealous of these men. So Anderson said they could play pool or darts, but Storm said, no, if we do that, I'm just going to violently attack you.
Yeah.
And Storm said, let's have a drinking contest instead. And Anderson said, okay. Are these men feuding?
I think so.
Are they friends?
I don't think so.
I don't have any idea what's happening.
They're definitely, by the end of this program, it was clear that they are feuding.
That is true. By the end, it was clear. But at this point,
why they were at a bar together, I have absolutely no idea.
2 guys who went to the bar to get some beers. And I've done this never with anyone I'm feuding with.
There's probably a 30-second segment last week that explained this, that everybody has forgotten about. But yes, they're not friends. But they hang out together. They drink beer together.
Austin Aries versus MVP. I believe this was the 3rd time MVP's music had played in this show.
Yeah.
Match was fun while it lasted, which was not long. And then Lashley and King ran out for the DQ, and then a brawl broke out.
Yes.
This was for this group the 3rd brawl in less than an hour.
6 minutes of wrestling in an hour, by the way.
Yeah.
Do you remember back in the day when WCW was going down the tubes, and it was like a major news story one week where they had an hour of television with only 6 minutes of wrestling?
Yeah.
Now there's 6 minutes of wrestling in an hour, and nobody even thinks about it.
Well, no one's watching this show. So, Eric Young ran out. He got beat up again. He got beat up for the 2nd time on this show. Then Dixie came out, and then they went to commercial. When they came back, Dixie was in the middle of her promo. I thought to myself, aren't you banned from the building? And no sooner should I think this than MVP asks, aren't you banned from the building?
And what did she respond, Vinny?
I don't know. They just kept talking.
They just kept talking.
Yeah.
No enforcement of these rules.
If you were banned, if you were banned from the building, just show up anyway, and no one will do anything.
Yeah.
So they talked and talked and talked, and MVP for the second time in this segment read my mind and said, "Please get to the point." Then Bully Ray ran out. He chased the Carters away with a pipe. MVP and his crew stood back in silence. So did the fans. Then MVP said, "Hey, Bully, I banned you from the building too. Why are you here?" So Bully got in the ring, and he and MVP shouted at each other for a while.
Again, no enforcement of the rules.
No, none.
Why doesn't Bobby Roode just show up? He's been banned too.
Why would you go to Impact?
Hey, he's sitting home getting paid.
Yeah, he's on a vacation.
He's doing
Good
it
for
right.
Bobby. So, crowd did react to Bully's speech. He was the biggest star on the show. And then they beat up Bully, and for MVP's crew, they had their fourth brawl of the show. Then, Dixie and Ethan came back. It's a horrible show. So MVP's crew left, and the Carters went to put Bully through a table, but they couldn't make it that simple. No, Bully had to make a comeback. They had another brawl, and then Bully went through the table anyway. You know,
I don't have anything. The show sucks.
I watched this show last night, and I was aware it was a very, very bad show. And then I went to read the thread on the board, and everyone agreed it was a very, very bad show. The fact is, and partly because we didn't know you were gonna be late. I was at your house anyway, watching this alone in the dark. But I just sat there for 2 hours. I didn't move. I didn't speak. I didn't really flinch or react to anything. I just sat there watching the show. And then I went through the thread and read that and saw that everyone agreed, yes, it was a bad show. Then I woke up this morning, and I have actually started editing the newsletter. I can edit my own stuff. So I went back over my notes, and I thought, Jesus Christ, what a horrible show. And now, doing this show with you, going over Impact for the fourth time, I realized this show was awful.
Yeah.
This show was absolutely atrocious.
I had been warned many times about how bad the show was. I'd gotten texts about it. I got emails. You had warned me to just stay on set.
Yes, don't leave the movie set, I told you.
I woke up, and keep in mind, I didn't go to bed till 3:30 or 4 a.m. So we were going to do this thing at noon, this show. So I had to get up. I mean, I got very little sleep last night, and I got up. Why? To watch this fucking show.
If I woke up after 4 hours of sleep to watch this episode of Impact, I would have killed myself.
Well, I woke up, and I went down there, and I watched the show, and I was just, oh, God, help me. God in my life. Something. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I just
strike my house with a meteor immediately.
I couldn't even believe what I was watching. Just when I saw the opening segment twice, I was like, did I fall asleep? Did I fucking have a dream? How am I watching an opening segment twice in a row? And then a brawl. And then another brawl. And then another brawl. And then I hit the play button to see how much time has surpassed. And it's 36 minutes. I haven't seen a fucking actual wrestling match. And the first one I get is 3 minutes. And then it's just another brawl. And I hate everybody on this show. And not in a good way. Not oh man, I can't wait to see MVP get his. It's just I hate this. How many fucking heel authority figures do we have to have? They all hate each other. There's no enforcement of any rules whatsoever. You've been banned, but you show up, and then you just show up. I don't get it. Again, the show was bad watching it, right?
Yeah.
And then you read your notes and you realize how goddamn terrible it was. Even worse than it was watching it, right?
Yeah.
So if you work backwards, it means that somewhere somebody had a script for this show before they shot it for television, right?
Sure.
And they're going over this script and nobody noticed we've got 5 fucking brawls in the first hour and 6 minutes of wrestling, 2 opening segments, infuriating people that don't like each other. Nobody could see this going in, that this looks like a bad show. I'm just baffled. Sickening.
All right. So Bully went through the table and went to commercial. They came back. The Carters were in the parking lot about to get in their limo when Bully began to stalk them. And so they got in the car and drove away.
Does anybody watching this care about any of these characters?
I believe that I saw 6 months worth of angles in the first hour of Impact.
Yes. And then
no one will remember them in a week.
Remember when you were talking about how you were editing The Observer and you look through it and you're looking at all the tapings for future shows? First off, I tried to read them, but my brain just like zoned out. And then I kind of look at it like, I'm just kind of scrolling through it, and it's like, this is for the May 27th taping. This is for the June 6th taping. This is for the June 12th taping. This is for the... I'm like, oh my God. How did... You got all of this taping to do. How do you even run through all these storylines so fast? I could have got 2 months worth of tapings off this one show.
Yeah. Willow versus Magnus in what was, for no particular reason, a Falls Count Anywhere match. So Bram wanted Magnus to use a weapon, and Magnus said no. And then later, Bram said, Magnus, use this weapon. And Magnus said, okay.
So when Magnus was the champion, he would do any cheating necessary to retain his title. And now that he's no longer the champion, he wants to play fair?
Yeah. So, Magnus said, no, I will not use the weapon. Then he said, yes, I will use the weapon. He hit Willow in the gut, but then he couldn't bring himself to hit him in the head. He threw the weapon away, and Willow hit a twist of fate on the ramp and won.
I don't know. I have nothing to add.
I don't either. Gunner visited Sam Shaw in the loony bin.
Who is shaving him and combing his hair? That's bugging me more than anything else.
I don't know. So Gunner said he would not leave until Shaw talked to him. And he said that he had spent time in an institution as well. So I guess somewhere along the line, Gunner also lost a match to Mr. Anderson.
What a twist.
Yeah. Eddie Edwards returned from the hospital. Then Gunner and Shaw were still talking. This had to be split into 2 segments. They couldn't just go to the loony bin one time and get it all over with. They had to stretch it out. So the storyline is that Gunner, after his experiences in the military, had friends who had to go through, who suffered through the horrors of combat and had to deal with post-traumatic stress disorder. What a fun and enjoyable storyline.
I was going to say, when
I sit down for a wrestling show to have a good time watching fights, what I want to hear about is the terrors of warfare. That's awesome. The good news is, Gunner said his friend got better. He thought Shaw could get better too. Then he said, it's time to take your straitjacket off. And he walked away, and we never saw them again.
Well, the good news is, at least this means we're getting a different character for Sam Shaw.
I guess.
That's a positive.
I hope. Maybe the treatment will work. This will be nuts.
All these segments in the institution, and they still won't tell me who's combing his hair.
No.
I mean, it's really bothering me now. Is that hard to just, not comb your hair for this segment? You're going to do a segment where you've been in a straitjacket, locked up in an institution since the last pay-per-view. And there ain't one guy who goes, Sam, don't comb your hair.
So, Eddie Edwards came down to the ring. He called out anyone in MVP's crew for a fight, and then Kenny King came out, and a brawl broke out.
No.
For Kenny King alone, this was his 5th brawl of the show. And there was still a half hour to go.
In one program, 5 brawls.
90 minutes.
Involving Kenny King. That's right, just the first 90 minutes. There was more to come.
So they brawled and they brawled and they brawled and they brawled, and then Kenny hit an exploder on the ramp. I have no idea why you would take that bump for this segment, and it ended.
What's funny is they were having this brawl, and it went on forever.
It did.
And Mike Tenay's screaming about how this is not a match. It's just a fight. And I was like, well, I'll watch something else then.
Yes, show me a match, goddammit.
Like, who the fuck cares if it's just a brawl? There's not going to be a winner. There's not going to be a loser. And in fact, there wasn't. There was a move, and then they just cut away. It's like, well, you cut away earlier. Where's security? Why should I care about this?
James Storm and Mr. Anderson were still drinking. I can only assume they were watching the show. Then Anderson revealed to the camera he was not really getting drunk. MVP met with a ref that Kenny King had punched last week. He apologized on Kenny's behalf, said, to make it up to you, I'm going to put you in the main event, but that means you got to make it up to me and basically do what I say.
You know, I just thought of this. I think that the problem with this show, one of them, is somebody there, and I would presume it would have to be Big Jim, I don't know, but somebody there is like, all people want to see on television is fighting. That's why they turn into wrestling. They just want to see fighting. So let's just give them a bunch of dudes fighting. If we give them fighting, they will tune in and they'll watch. And they don't even have the concept that a fight without context, who gives a shit? I mean, does anyone even look at like UFC ratings or Bellator Friday night ratings?
You know why I haven't watched a UFC show in like 3 years?
Because it's a bunch of guys fighting.
Yes.
The rare shows where there's like context and guys you know and a good storyline, guess what? They do great numbers. But for your average show, your average FS1 show where it's a bunch of prelims and it's just a bunch of dudes getting in a fight, their numbers are lower than ever. So why? I don't even get it. Like, I mean, I don't know. Just infuriated just watching this show. Like, great. Austin Aries and Kenny King are having a fight. There's no stipulation here. He's mad that his buddies put his friend in the hospital earlier in this same show. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, no, he's in the fucking hospital. He's going to be back on the show next week, like always. Nothing has any meaning or impact or anything on this show. It's just a bunch of shit happening. I so zoned out during this brawl. I was trying so hard to watch it, and it's just like, oh, man, what's going on my phone? You know what I mean? Like what's happening in the world? I'm just so fucking bored. I don't care about this at all. There's no reason for anybody to care about it.
We had the resolution to James Storm and Mr. Anderson go to a bar. So they're both acting drunk, and now they're all best friends and pals and laughing at each other. And Anderson revealed, "You are drunk. I am not." And then he kicked James Storm's ass.
A brawl broke out.
A brawl broke out. That is also true. But let's think about this now. Mr. Anderson, last I checked, was a babyface. It's very hard to tell. But here, he spent hours and hours deceiving a man and poisoning him. And he did this so that at the end of the day, he would not have to take part in a fair fight.
That is
what a terrible hero.
It's exactly what happened.
My God in heaven. Borash interviewed Eric Young. He pointed out that Eric Young, the heavyweight champion of the world, had been, quote, beaten up again. So Eric Young tried to cut a serious Eric Young promo. He promised to get crazy.
Well, on the bright side, he hasn't had to get neck surgery yet.
Yeah. Main event was Eric Young versus Bobby Lashley. Eric Young remains really good at pro wrestling. They had a good little main event that took this show out of contention for the worst wrestling show of all time. Something good happened. Match was fun. And then, of course, MVP and Kenny King ran out for their sixth brawl of the show. That's not counting Anderson. That's not counting the girls. Just MVP and his crew. This was their sixth brawl of the show. The ref did not call for the DQ because he was scared of MVP. So Lashley hit his spear and a power slam for the win. At which point Taz noted, definitely wasn't clean. Thanks, Taz. Aries ran out with a stick. They fought with him too. I'm not sure if this counts as a 7th brawl or not.
I just have a quick question that I was just thinking about here. Why are there fucking kendo sticks all over backstage?
Who knows?
You know how hard it is to come across a kendo stick? And there seems to be one backstage. I mean, what, does Aries wrap it up and take it through customs? Is there a Pier 1 Imports next door? Why is there always a fucking kendo stick backstage? Guys don't even run out with, like, chairs. He happened to find a stick made of bamboo taped together. I don't know. Of all the things to annoy me.
Many, many years ago, like 20 years or more, I was watching Sports Center, and they went to footage of, it's like a soccer game in Thailand or Cambodia or something. And something happened, and suddenly in the stands, a riot broke out, and everyone in the crowd had a kendo stick. And the announcers were like, was it Singapore Cane Night at the stadium? What happened here?
May have been.
I don't know. Anyway, that was Impact, everyone. An absolutely terrible wrestling show.
I don't know what more to add. I can't believe I woke up early to watch this show. I don't know what would have been worse. You know what? It's much worse to wake up and watch this show in the morning. Because maybe I'm in the minority here, but to me, no matter what happened to me during the day, no matter what good or bad happened, when I lay down in bed and I put my head on that pillow, my brain just shuts off. You know what I mean? Like, whatever problems are occurring, I'll deal with them the next day. But it doesn't do any good to, like, think about them when I have my head on the pillow. Because I'm just going to be sleeping, right? So I never think about my trials or tribulations when I'm about to go to sleep. So I think it helps to watch this show at night, and then I get all my frustration out, and then I go down and I put my head down and I go to sleep. But when I have to watch this show early in the morning after getting no sleep, and I watch this fucking show, and then I rant about it, the show's going to be bugging me for like the whole rest of the day. I don't know. I'm not looking forward to next week.
Bully Ray came out for a promo. He said there were 6 people in the world he wanted to put through tables. And they had tables set up on stage. And as he would go by each table and tear the plastic wrap off of it, and there'd be someone's name spray painted on it. This was the most ghetto presentation. First of all, I don't know where they didn't have like a drape or a curtain he could yank off. It was like a plastic garbage sack stretched over the table, and he'd rip and tear at it, and it didn't always tear cleanly. And then when he finally did, there was just like someone hastily took silver spray paint as fast as possible and wrote somebody's name on it. They spelled Lashley's name wrong.
No.
Yeah. Lashly.
That's awesome.
This is appallingly ghetto.
When you get a present for your birthday or for Christmas and somebody wraps it up and it's difficult to unwrap, at least the excuse is someone else wrapped it. But in this storyline, wouldn't Bully Ray have wrapped his own table?
As far as I know.
And he wrapped it in such a way that he himself could not unwrap it easily?
Yes.
Why did he put their name and then wrap it?
I don't know.
Just to make this whole thing a presentation?
As embarrassing as possible and low rent as possible.
All right.
So the 6 names were Lashley, EC3, Kenny King, MVP, Spud, and last was Dixie. Went down to the ring. He dared everyone to come fight him. MVP came out with his crew. And then Ethan and Spud jumped right from behind. And guess what, Brian?
Let me guess.
Brawl broke out.
Oh, man, you beat me to it.
Yeah. The amazing thing is, I was just sitting there thinking, wasn't this taped the same night as last week's show? I cannot fathom sitting through both of these back to back.
You know, I have been alerted that apparently Dixie went through the quarter hours a couple of years ago. I think this was when Russo was booking. And first off, that was her mistake, going through the quarters when Vince Russo was booking. But I think the idea was they found that brawls did better quarter numbers than matches. And so she has since, and I guess Russo as well if he's a consultant, which I believe he is, I think their idea now is more brawls, less wrestling. The problem is, if Dixie would actually go look at the fucking quarters today, she would realize that, in fact, none of this is making any difference. Your quarter-hour numbers are falling every single solitary quarter, pretty much.
Yeah. So, Spud and Ethan went to the ramp. They grabbed Spud's table with his name on it, brought it down to the ring. There was no heat for any of this. And then Eric Young, Austin Aries, and the Wolves ran out to make the save. All the heels ran away. They left Spud behind. Spud attempted to hide underneath the table. I did laugh at that. The only people that were over here were, in fact, the tables themselves. No one else got any chance. So, Aries challenged MVP and his crew to a 6-man tag. And then Ray powerbombed Spud through the table. Ethan was on the ramp near the point of tears. MVP didn't care and thought it was pretty funny, if anything. And by the end of this, Austin Aries got mic time. Bully Ray got mic time. The world champion did not, and the world tag team champions did not.
They're secondary characters.
Apparently.
For those of you that watched last week's epic episode of Impact with 9,000 brawls, here are the quarter hours for this show. It opened up at a 1.03, and the quarters go as follows. 1.03, 1.03, 0.96, 0.96, 0.90, 0.77, 0.77, and a slight rise to a 0.78. Those are bad quarters.
And a bad trend.
A very bad trend.
That means more people turned it off than turned it on.
Throughout the show.
Yes.
There was exactly one segment that added viewers, and it was the final segment, and it added, in fact, because it aired so late at night, it is possible that even though the rating increased, they actually did not add any viewers for that segment.
Ah, I see.
Yeah.
So it went to commercial. They did advertise here. Animal Planet aired a commercial for Eric Young's goofy new show, which is Animal Planet knows better how to promote Eric Young than TNA does.
Mm-hmm.
Commercial break ended. The screen came up, and there were guys brawling, and literally they rang the bell right then. So it was MVP, King, and Lashley versus Aries and the Wolves. Lots of brawling on the floor. Heels hit a bunch of dives. Actually, there was more wrestling in this match, I'm pretty sure, than on last week's show. Went through another break. They came back. It was just a regular tag match. Aries got a hot tag, ran wild. And he hit King with a brainbuster, and Davey followed with a foot stomp. But then Davey turned around and Lashley speared him to death. They were saying that in the attacks last week, Davey had suffered an injured liver.
An injured liver?
Of all the wrestlers who have hurt their livers, I don't think Davey Richards is high on my list.
A drinking contest?
I guess. I don't know. So MVP finally hit Davey with a Yakuza kick and pinned him. A fun little match. Bram ordered Magnus to be in his corner tonight. Dixie arrived. Ethan explained everything that had happened in the opening segment as quickly as possible, to which Dixie replied, "Poor Spud, but listen." That was also funny. To this point, the show really was not that bad. She said she had plans for MVP. Bram versus Tigre Uno.
I like how when you say Bram, his name is essentially in all capital letters.
There's no other way to say it.
Bram.
Christy did her absolute very best as the ring announcer to try and pronounce his name in a dramatic, respectful manner. It can't be done. His name is Bram.
What does it even mean? Like half bull, half ram? What is a Bram?
The only Bram I've ever heard of is Bram Stoker.
That would be
vampire novels.
That would be Bram.
I see.
Bram.
So it was Bram versus Tigre Uno. Funny thing about Bram is I actually like him. He has great intensity.
I have nothing wrong with Bram.
Awesome facials.
Yeah, Bram is not bad. It's just like this guy suddenly debuted.
Yes.
He's just Bram.
Just Bram.
His first ever match, he just lost a random three-way. It's just the usual impact.
Yeah.
Debut a guy with as little impact as possible. Make sure he has no impact, and then he's just part of the show. That's
Exactly.
Bram.
Yeah, that is him. And give him one of the worst names I've ever heard of. So he won with a DDT. Then he grabbed a turnbuckle, and he was going to kill Tigre Uno further. But Magnus cut him off with talking. So he was going off about how you're twice this guy's size. You need tougher competition. Now, they've been building tension between these two for weeks. And the one who's been acting more likable tells the other guy, you need tougher competition. In any other promotion in the history of the world, the next words would have been, I challenge you to a match. But this is TNA. So what Magnus said was, you should fight Willow. And Bram accepted. So I guess this match is happening now.
It's on the pay-per-view, I believe.
So Magnus
Or whatever this next show is.
can book Willow in matches, and I guess Willow's okay with it.
Well, we've determined that Bram
Yes.
is capable of booking matches. Now Magnus is apparently capable of booking matches. The one man who is not allowed to just go book matches is the world champion, Eric Young.
Correct.
He has been restricted from booking his own matches.
That is right. Gunner and Mr. Anderson had a meeting backstage. Anderson was appalled that Gunner had been visiting Sam Shaw in the hospital. They disagreed on this subject, but they agreed to be a team tonight. Brittany approached Madison backstage and said, I have a tag match against the beautiful people tonight. Will you be my partner? And Madison sat her down and said, you are not ready for the beautiful people. When I started with this company, I wasn't ready for the beautiful people either. You should back out of the tag match. I think Brittany said okay. Didn't Madison debut as one of the beautiful people?
I don't think so.
Maybe I'm wrong.
I think you're wrong.
I'm certainly not going to look it up.
Well, I'll look it up then, since I didn't see the show.
All right. BroMans fought Mr. Anderson and Gunner. Do you remember many years ago at a local indie show when Samito was on a part of a babyface tag team, and he got the hot tag, and everyone was down selling?
Yes.
And he screamed, I'm a house of fire, and there's nobody to hit.
Yes.
That is what happened to Anderson here.
Yes.
He got the hot tag and made a Samito come back. Just guys laying around. So somehow he managed to run wild.
House of Fire. I've
There's
got
no one
nobody
to
to
hit.
hit.
So the faces won. Anderson hit a mic check. Gunner hit a diving headbutt. Tanay said it seems like the BroMans are on a losing streak as of late. Seems like.
Seems like, yeah.
I
So
believe they have not won a match in months.
So it appears that Madison Rayne did join the Beautiful People shortly after debuting, but she did not join as a member.
I see.
She did a couple of matches, and then she walked out on her partner and joined the Beautiful People.
I suppose I should apologize then to Impact.
Yes, they remembered their own history.
Better than I did. That's amazing.
You know what? They honest to God, one thing about Impact is they do seem to remember their history better than WWE.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
So Gunner and Anderson left, and the BroMans were in the ring pouting when out came the Menagerie.
With the Stilt People?
The Stilt People and the Clown, and I believe this week when what was her name? Rebel. When Rebel was dancing, she had like glow-in-the-dark chains or something.
They got to be working for free. I just can't imagine this. All this
Flying
money
in
being
6 people for this act.
Yeah.
So they came out.
By the way, I got to mention something. So WWE had I forget where they were the last for like SmackDown and Raw, but anyway, all of the people from Adam Rose's Menagerie, they weren't flown from city to city. They had to drive.
Yeah.
Sucks to be them.
Well, yeah, but
And it was a long drive, if I recall correctly.
So, all right. So the Menagerie are coming out. They're doing their full entrance. So this is like a good 3 minutes of time. And the whole time, the BroMans are scared in the ring. But, of course, they are also trapped in the ring. And DJ Z and Jesse just kind of looked confused. Robbie looked like he was about to cry. So they do the whole entrance, and the BroMans are still there, and they're scared. And they stand back to back to back, and they hook arms, trying to get as defensive as possible from these freaks. And then finally, they shove DJ Z into the clown's arms. They ran away, and Freak hit him with a spine buster or something, and that was the whole bit. This sucks. And you know how Kevin Nash used to fix his hair about 25 times in a match?
Mm-hmm.
That's, to me, Crazy Steve snapping his head is the same thing. Comes out, snaps his head. Does a little roll, snaps his head. Looks in the camera, snaps his head. You have one gimmick, and that's it.
Hey, he's got a gimmick.
I suppose. So, this all sucked.
All right, so I found the cities, by the way. They had to drive. I guess it's not... or wait, no, that's via plane. They had to drive from Orlando to Knoxville. 9 hours and 31 minutes they had to drive, these rosebuds. And according to Google Maps here, there is construction all the way up the thing.
Of course there is.
Actually, yeah, I guess it's not. It's more incidents, so I guess that wouldn't have been...
And I'm assuming they did not have a legit bus either.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Hey, at least they didn't have to walk. We got to look on the bright side. That would have been 204 hours, 622 miles.
Man.
Yeah. So don't get down on WWE. They at least allowed him to have a car.
And they would have been fined for being late, too.
I'm sure.
Yeah. Brittany asked Gail to be her partner, and Gail accepted. Dixie came out for a promo, and here is where this show just hit all sorts of new levels of just being Impact.
New levels?
She called out MVP. She said she wanted to finish the conversation they had last week because Lord knows nobody in wrestling can ever just send an email. So she said MVP needed her, and they talked, and they talked, and they talked, and they talked, and the crowd got bored and chanted for tables.
I hate all this talking.
Tables are the biggest star on TNA. So I think MVP said he had more money than her. Then Eric Young and Bully Ray came out, and they had weapons. And then everyone talked, and they talked, and they talked. And MVP vowed to send Eric back to the fishing show. And Eric wanted to fight, but Bully Ray said, no, not now.
He vowed to send him back to the fishing show?
Yeah.
What a threat.
Yeah.
He's been there for a week.
I'll send you back to your other job that probably pays better.
And sure does.
So they kept talking, and they talked, and they talked. And MVP called Bully a pussy, and now he wanted to fight. But Eric said, no, not now. Why did you two even come out here then? So MVP booked Bully Ray versus Eric with Ethan as special ref. Bully Ray said, no, I won't do it. I dare you to fire me. Dixie stepped up, and they talked, and they talked, and they talked, and they talked. She basically said that if Bully Ray got fired, there would be nobody left to fight. Nobody left to fight her and MVP because Eric did not have the stomach to fight them in the gutter. And as she said this, MVP said, gutter? He couldn't believe she had buried them. And then they talked, and they talked, and they talked, and they talked, and finally the segment just ended. There was more dialogue here than in any given episode of Total Divas. They just talked for like 15 minutes.
Oh, yeah. My favorite.
Oh, God.
Do people care about this? I mean, I looked at the quarter, so
obviously.
the answer is no.
I believe if you will check your ratings, this was the biggest plummet of the show.
Well, I don't have them now, but I will get them.
I might be. It's up there. Had a Kurt Angle video. He was at home recovering from knee surgery. He thanked the fans for their support. Beautiful People versus Gail Kim and Brittany. I watched this show and TakeOver back to back. And for maybe a half hour, Brittany was my favorite performer in all of wrestling. And then she got passed many times over. So the story here, as best I can tell, is that Brittany sucks and nobody likes her. So
That's the story.
Yeah.
Okay.
She talked Gail into being her partner. And then she refused to tag her in. And I should add, by the way, I had to go back
Brittany
and watch.
refused to tag Gail in?
Brittany was in the ring.
Okay.
Gail was on the apron.
Okay.
And Brittany refused to tag Gail in.
So Brittany asked for her to be her partner and then would not let her in the ring.
That's right.
That makes sense.
Right. So the other thing is, by the way, for reasons we shall get to, I went back and watched this all twice. The first time, every time I looked up, Brittany was getting her ass kicked. And I thought they just had the heat on her. So they did a horrible job of telling the story. There would be flashes. Brittany would like hit a move and go to the corner and do like an awkward pose. But then she'd get cut off right away again. So they did a horrible job of telling the story they were trying to tell. So finally they got the heat on Brittany, beat her up for a while. Brittany versus Velvet Sky was so unbelievably bad. Just you could not comprehend.
I'm stunned.
What's that?
I'm stunned.
I know. Just the worst. So she finally tagged Gail in. Gail made her hot tag. She's running wild. And she goes back to the corner. And as she goes back to the corner, Brittany tags herself back in.
Hello? Vinny? There we go. I lost you. She tagged herself back in and you were sucked into the vortex.
Oh, that's no good. So Brittany tagged herself back in and said, I got this. And she did like a handspring off the ropes into a moonsault. And she does this big, wacky, goofy flip. And of course the heel misses. And Brittany splatted right onto the canvas. And I laughed, and I laughed, and I laughed, and I laughed, and I laughed. This was so silly. The gimmick is that she sucks, and it did a great job of getting that over. So finally, Angelina hit her jumping kick for the pin, and the heels won. And I was so happy watching this. I had so much fun. Brittany is a much, 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 much better clown than Crazy Steve. I have never watched Crazy Steve and laughed. I watched Brittany, and I laughed till I cried.
Now I'm excited for this show.
We had a segment backstage. It was very short and very simple, but Eric and Ray met and said, look, we are in the middle of a bunch of bullshit right now, but at the end of the day, we are both competitors, and we are going to fight as hard as we can. And they shook hands. Great! I can't tell you how many times in my life I have watched guys forced to fight in wrestling and not understood why they didn't just lay down or just tap out.
Mm-hmm.
Here they gave me a reason. Great. That's all I need. Went to commercial, and they came back, and Brittany was still in the ring. I was overjoyed. There's going to be more Brittany. If only I had known where this is going to go. So Brittany explained that she had to talk to Madison. No, she needed to talk to Madison. Madison came out. Brittany said, I need to know why you refuse to be my partner. And I swear to God, you could hear like 3 different people all at the same time shout, you suck! She wanted to know why you rejected me. And
That's total divas. Jesus Christ.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So Madison said that I tried to tell you you were not ready. I can't fight your battles for you. I can't be responsible for what would happen next. And they only had one mic, by the way, because they're a ghetto company. So Brittany grabbed the mic away and said she would be responsible for herself, and then said, quote, I just want to be with you.
Oh.
It's got the biggest pop in the show. Crowd was very happy to hear this news. Madison was not. She told Brittany to keep her distance. So Brittany had to pull the mic away again. She threw a tantrum. Claire Lynch on her worst day was not this bad. So Brittany's ranting and raving, and somewhere in here, the one mic they had broke, and so there was also tons and tons of scratching noises. This is the point where I just couldn't stop crying. I was laughing so hard. Just an all-time bad segment. So she's talking about how she's trying to be a nice girl, and she can't understand why Madison doesn't want to be friends. And the beautiful people came out and said, and I'm not making this up, this is really hard to watch. So Velvet said...
So is this a lesbian storyline in the making here? Is this what we're talking about, or am I just reading too much into this?
Let me get through this, and then we'll discuss what it means.
All right.
Velvet said, I just had to write down her actual dialogue. And they call us the mean girls? Don't worry, Brittany. You just witnessed the sting of the real queen bee. I tried so hard to get through this with a straight face. This show sucks so bad. I'm broken. All right, there's more. Then she said, that's the real Madison Rayne that nobody but us knows about. And do you know why? Because we made her that way. That's why. All right. First of all, somebody wrote that down and thought it would be a good idea for another person to go out on camera on television and say it. And then after it was said, a week went by and somebody else decided, yes, we should leave that on the show and not edit it out. That's good television that we should produce. We'll be proud of this. Don't worry, Brittany.
Read the line one more time.
You just witnessed the sting of the real queen bee. That's how she speaks.
That's some fucking poetry right there.
She's supposed to be a grown-up.
I can't wait to watch this show now.
Oh my
now
God.
I know what everyone else feels like when they hear your review.
Can only imagine. So she said that. I was trying to figure out what she meant. As best I can figure, I'm actually going over this in my head now, trying to think of this is what's going on. As best I can figure, the beautiful people at some point in the past, and Madison, by the way, she was talking about something how there were all kinds of issues between the people that nobody else knew about. Maybe that's a hint too. But as best I can figure, at some point, the beautiful people went to Madison Rayne trying to get some lesbian sex. And Madison Rayne said no. And because of this, that means Madison Rayne is a mean girl. So now here we are in the ring again, and Brittany is expressing her own lesbian feelings toward Madison, and Madison is again rejecting her, and that also makes her a mean girl.
That makes sense to me.
That is the best I can do with what I've been given.
I'll have to watch it, then I can make a determination.
So, somewhere in here, in the middle of this lesbian angle, boring chants broke out.
No.
Yes.
That actually astonishes me, really.
Yes. Madison chose to challenge Angelina to a title match. And the segment finally just ended. And as my notes here read, this was by far the worst Impact segment of the year.
Wow.
But it was so bad, it was funny. And I swear to God, I have not had more fun watching this show than I did in this segment. This is one for the record books. One for the ages.
Worse than Claire Lynch, huh? That's some high standards of shit.
Worse acting. We're probably less logical. Just, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what anyone's, well, I guess the motivations are they all just want to have sex with each other. As best I can tell. Except Madison, who in real life is in fact married with a child, so that makes sense.
That's right. Didn't they mention that in storyline that she's got like a child or something like that?
I don't know.
Huh.
Yeah, I'm the one who can't remember when she debuted with the Beautiful People, so you're asking the
That
wrong
was
person.
years ago. This was something that happened in like the last 2 weeks.
I don't know.
Maybe I'm making that up in my head.
Just an amazing bit of television. I'm stunned that people turned the show off. I can't believe that happened.
Well, Vinny, I don't have quarters for this week yet, so maybe this was a giant growth segment.
That's true.
Because it was a train wreck. We'll find out in a few days.
That's true.
I'll get you the quarters in a few days.
I was confusing which show you had the quarter hours for.
That was last week with the 9 million backstage brawls.
MVP and his crew met with Ethan in the locker room. They basically intimidated him and said they'd be watching. Eric Young versus Bully Ray with Ethan as ref. Now, I'm trying to remember when this happened, but stop me if you've heard this before. Suddenly, out came Kenny King, and he declared that he was now going to be the special guest ring announcer. And on top of that, there would also be a special enforcer. And there was going to be a special guest timekeeper. Now, this bit, when Hunter and the Shield did the same thing on Raw, that was the week before, right?
That
wasn't this episode that just happened, was it?
No, it was definitely not this past Monday.
Yeah. So that means that, yes, that happened on Raw before it happened on TNA, and then TNA did the exact same thing.
Well, you may. I'd have to go back and look through the tapings, but they taped a lot of television, and so this may have actually been WWE read their spoilers and then ripped it off. I can't say that's impossible. I'd have to go back and look at the spoilers.
Yeah,
but it is an amazing coincidence.
And we talk all the time about TNA ripping them off, but this is, just unapologetic, unashamed ripping off. At least that's how it came off. So all the heels are out there, and the heel's the ref, and Ray and Eric are kind of sort of trying to have a match, and they would do basic clean wrestling like arm drags and shoulder blocks, and then in the middle, heels would hit cheap shots, and they would just keep wrestling. So finally, Ethan goes to hit Eric with an elbow, or excuse me, Bully Ray goes to hit Eric with an elbow, but Ethan blocks him, and he declares, "No elbows," which is a wrestling rule I'm not familiar with. So Ray kicked him in the face. The MVP's crew hit the ring. There was not a finish to this match, of course. So the heels are beating them up. And then after weeks and weeks away, Samoa Joe comes out to make the save. They cannot have, you mentioned this, in fact, I believe in the opening segment. There was no way you could have made Samoa Joe's return less impactful. His music played, and he ran out like any other guy.
Yep.
So
it's the way it's done here in TNA. No impact. Don't
give anything a chance to sink in. So he ran out, cleared the ring, hit Kenny King with a muscle buster, and that was the end of the show. And I think that on my deathbed, I'm going to remember this episode of TNA Impact. This I will remember for a long
Let me tell you something,
time.
Vinny. If I'm ever on my deathbed for any period of time and all I can remember is Impact, then
this particular episode,
just get it over with.
When my life flashes before my eyes, this episode will have a longer flash than most moments.
No, that's good. At least it was funny.
It was funny, man. I had a ball watching this show.
Well, good. I cannot wait then.